Clayton County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm on Clark Howell and Forest Parkway, the intersection. I actually called about 20 minutes ago for an accident, and no one has shown up yet. But I am under the impression that the guy that caused the accident, who ran the red light, is drunk, and he's gotten back in his car, and he's looking like he's trying to drive away. Hold on. He's driving away. It's a red Dodge Dakota. Mm-hmm. 1 second. Hold on. You go straight. Okay, so he is going west, down Clark Howell. Down Forest Parkway.
Okay, so you couldn't get a tag number?
No, but I'm catching up to him right now.
Okay, ma'am, we actually do not want you to chase him.
Okay, well, there's a police officer there, but he is drunk. I'm sorry, but I'm here to tell you I'm not going to follow him, because he is going to cause another accident. So I will stay behind him until an officer can get to us, but until then, I'm not moving.
Ma'am. Ma'am. Yes.
Ma'am, he just pulled the trigger of my gun in my hand while he was.
Ma'am, you were not supposed to follow him.
He hit my car. There's a police officer down the street. Tell them to come up here now. He pulled the trigger on my gun after he attacked me. Tell the police officer to turn around from the 285 entrance and come up here immediately. And now he needs paramedics. I'm safe, but he ain't.
So Hannah Payne had been counting down the days until she turned 21 and could legally buy a firearm. Why? Who knows? The one thing she never stayed quiet about was her dream of becoming a police officer. So anyway, she's driving home from work through Atlanta rush hour when she sees a red Dodge pickup run a red light and crash into a semi. She's not involved and she's not hurt. In fact, it had nothing to do with her whatsoever. But she decides the scene needs her personal touch, like the adults already handling it weren't enough. So the man in the pickup was Kenneth Herring, a 62-year-old family man who was loved by all, and was walking around his truck clearly shaken when somebody mentioned that he seemed to look impaired. So Captain Payne got straight on the phone to 911, reporting a drunk driver, would you believe? No evidence, no breath test, just a clueless, entitled wannabe making what will end up being deadly assumptions. Then all of a sudden, he gets back in his truck and drives off. So Hannah hits full Starsky and Hutch mode. Dispatch told her, do not follow, but this was her chance and nobody was going to stop her. So now she's weaving through traffic like she's chasing a fugitive because in her head, he was the danger. But in trying to stop him, ironically, she became the actual threat. So she cuts him off, jumps out like she's in Bad Boys, and demands he gets out. He tells her where to go, obviously, so she pulls out a gun, tells him that she will shoot him, and then actually does, while this poor man is still sat in his car trying to get home. But the best part, she's still on the phone with 911 and tells them that he shot himself with her gun in broad daylight, surrounded by traffic, witnesses, and reality. I mean, the whole thing was just priceless and one of those had to be there moments. And just to top it all off, he wasn't drunk at all. He was diabetic, most likely needing insulin, which would have explained everything if she'd have just stayed in her lane. But now it's too late, and this wannabe cop is looking at murder. Hi, I'm David. This is No Contest, and today we're breaking down the case of Hannah Payne, a reckless vigilante with a shiny new gun, branded as a racist Karen on social media. From the moment of the shooting to the interrogation, the bond controversy, attorneys not showing up for the first day of trial, a judge getting disqualified mid-case, to a trial which turned into a farce of its own. I mean, with defense lawyers playing underhand games, and a defendant who thinks she can sit through cross-examination and deny what's already on tape and audio. I mean, this one has it all. So before everything went sideways, Hannah Payne was just another 21-year-old trying to figure life out. She had a solid setup, 2 parents at home, and people who genuinely cared about her. So no drama, no chaos. She wasn't struggling and she wasn't isolated. She had love, stability, and options. So she worked in property management, nothing flashy, but it paid the bills and kept her steady after school. The real goal, she wanted to be a cop. And not just in a maybe one day kind of way. I mean, she talked about it all the time. She had family in law enforcement, so that world wasn't some distant dream. It was familiar. She saw the badge up close and started thinking she could wear one too. Thing is, she didn't go to the academy. She did not get certified, but she did start carrying. And when she finally turned 21, she got herself a gun and started rolling around in this black and pink Barbie Jeep. Loud and proud, fully convinced she was built for something bigger. So from the outside, she looked like someone with direction, confidence, support. But with what's coming next, you'd swear we were talking about a completely different person. I mean, she'd had that gun for just 2 weeks when everything changed. So it's early evening, May 2019. Traffic's a nightmare. I mean, we're near Jackson International Airport in Atlanta, where the roads are basically a stress test for your sanity. Then boom, a Dodge Dakota runs a red light and smashes head-on into an 18-wheeler, or a semi if you're from the US. And when I say smashes, I mean that Dodge looked like it had tried to square up with Optimus Prime. But luckily, both drivers climb out. So there was no blood and no screaming. The truck driver was Stanley Kimball, and the guy in the pickup was Kenneth Herring, the poor, unsuspecting victim. And watching this whole mess unfold, 2 witnesses, Terry Robinson, an off-duty correctional officer, and Hannah Payne. The less said about her, the better. Now let's be crystal clear. Hannah Payne wasn't involved. She didn't get hit. She didn't dodge anything. She wasn't even in the splash zone. But she pulls over anyway. Because apparently, watching a car crash from a distance makes you the lead investigator. So Terry Robinson calls 911 like a normal person. And Hannah, she decides to call too. Why? Who knows? Maybe she thought Terry's 911 call wouldn't get through. Maybe she figured the emergency line was jammed up with people making duplicate calls just to feel important. Because why be a bystander when you can be a self-appointed deputy? So this is the exact moment Hannah Payne decides she is the main character. She inserts herself into a situation that had nothing to do with her. And just like that, we're off, straight into the land of bad decisions and worse judgment. So about 20 minutes crawl by, no sirens, no flashing lights, just traffic backed up for miles. Because we were later informed that there was another crash nearby that day. And Jackson Airport's roads were already chock-a-block. So Terry Robinson, one of the actual witnesses, calls 911 again. He's worried. He says Kenneth looks impaired. Not violent, not aggressive, just off. And Terry's doing what you're supposed to do. He's not chasing anybody. He's not playing hero. He's just reporting what he sees.
Clayton County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Clark Howell and Forest Parkway. We had a call earlier, and it's been over like 20 minutes now, and no police or no ambulance have shown up at this location. The reason why I'm asking that is because the driver who caused the accident, I think he's impaired. Something's going on with him, and so the thing about we're trying to tell him to turn his vehicle off and smoke, and he's not following the man. So that's why I'm asking to see what if he's moving his ears. He's going to drive off, man. He's driving off. He's driving off. Take a picture of the driving light. Take a picture, quick. He's driving off.
Where's he going towards?
Yeah, he's heading towards Riverdale Road, Upper Riverdale Road. That's where he's heading.
What kind of vehicle is it? Is
He's
that
in
the
the
red
red Dakota. Get out the road, sir. Get out the road. Hurry up.
What's the tag number?
Red Dakota, front end damage to his red Dakota. Did you get a picture of the driver light? The tag. Oh man, let's get out the road. Get out the road. He's heading towards Riverdale Road, heading towards 285 area. Riverdale Road. He's heading west on Forest Parkway towards the area. So he's in a red Dakota. It's a 96 model, give or take 97 model. He's an older black gentleman, gray hair, blue shirt on, and front end damage, heavily front end damage in front. Heavily front end. I knew he was going to do something. I knew it was RHA 5933. There it was. RHA 5933. RHA 5933.
I got it. Robert Henry Adams 5933.
Yes. Hopefully the lady in the Jeep, so she turned around and she went after him. So she's going to take a picture of his vehicle and stuff. Can't you believe it? I knew he was something wrong with it, guy. I knew it. God.
So she calls 911 again too, this time to tell them to hurry up. She's convinced he's drunk and is likely going to cause an accident if he takes off, which it looks like he's about to do. Then Kenneth, confused, disorientated, and as we later find out, diabetic, did actually get back in his car and drives off, most probably trying to get to a hospital. So Hannah decides she's going to follow him and get his license plates, which, okay, fine, could be useful if that's all it was. But let's be real. She was hunting this guy down like he just robbed a bank. And for what? The man had left the scene of an accident. No injuries, no chaos, just broken metal and bad timing. I mean, that's a misdemeanor at worst. And Hannah, she was locked in. Tunnel vision. Full pursuit mode.
Clayton County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm on Clark Howell and Forest Parkway, the intersection. I actually called about 20 minutes ago for an accident, and no one has shown up yet. But I am under the impression that the guy that caused the accident, who ran the red light, is drunk, and he's gotten back in his car, and he's looking like he's trying to drive away.
Okay, can you get his tag number?
Hold on, he's driving away. It's a red Dodge Dakota. Give me 1 second, hold on. You go straight. Okay, so he is going west, down Clark Howell, down Forest Parkway.
Okay, so you couldn't get a tag number?
No, but I'm catching up to him right now.
Okay, ma'am, we actually do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe. And it's
I
not
understand.
to chase him.
I understand 100%. I'm just going to get the tag number, if nothing else. But I am going west down Forest Parkway. And we are almost up to him. I mean, his radiator is busted and everything. So I honestly have no idea how he's driving the truck the way that it is. Okay. It is a Georgia tag. License plate is RHA as in Apple 4859.
Okay.
So Hannah gets the tag and gives it to dispatch. Job done, right? That's it. That's all anyone needed. You call it in, go home, and maybe tell your mates about the chaos you saw on the way home from work. But Captain Hannah was only just getting started. She's still on the phone, still narrating, still acting like she's in the middle of a live episode of Crime Watch. I mean, she's not about to turn around now.
So, if you can go back to that location where the incident happened, and it's not to chase him.
Okay.
and because someone is actually on the way to you guys now.
Okay, well, there's a police officer there, but he is drunk. I'm sorry, but I'm here to tell you I'm not going to follow him because he is going to cause another accident. So I will stay behind him until an officer can get to us, but until then, I'm not moving.
Yeah, no, that's what I want. I want you guys to go back to the location where it happened, and an officer will be out there momentarily, okay?
And that's when the situation stops being ridiculous and starts being reckless. I mean, Hannah Payne, who, let's remember, wasn't involved in the crash, is now literally chasing this poor man through traffic, weaving in and out of lanes like she's trying to win a prize. And here's the part that makes you want to cry. She's doing all this because she thinks he might cause an accident, while she's out there driving like she's auditioning for Fast and Furious. I mean, it is ridiculous, it's hypocritical, and it is dangerous. She tails him for about a mile, and instead of just following like any sane person would, she pulls a full-on Dukes of Hazzard move, cuts him off, slams her car in front of his, and stops him cold. And the wild part, she's still on the phone to 911 while this is happening. I mean, you can hear the dispatcher trying to calm her down, telling her to go back to the scene, and she's just ignoring it. And before the car's even fully stopped, she jumps out like she's in some sort of action movie. No badge, no training, no authority, but she's out there shouting commands like she's running a checkpoint. She starts demanding that he gets out of his car, not asking, demanding. And I'm sitting there thinking, who does she think she is? This isn't a traffic stop. This is a civilian chasing down a man who's clearly in medical distress. Kenneth, 62, diabetic, confused, and probably terrified, tells her to back off. And honestly, that's the only sane reaction, because this isn't help, this is harassment.
Ma'am. Ma'am.
And then she pulls out her brand new gun, like it's going to solve everything. Like flashing it will magically make him freeze and obey. But here's what these untrained, clueless vigilantes never seem to get. In real life, when you pull a weapon, people don't always put their hands up, especially not someone who's scared, confused, and in urgent need of help. So when Kenneth doesn't comply, when he doesn't play along, she panics and the gun goes off. And following that, in what might be the most absurd moment of the entire incident, she picks the phone back up with 911 still on the line and tells the operator that he shot himself with her gun. Oh, you just could not make this up.
Yes.
Ma'am, he just pulled the trigger of my gun in my hand while he was.
Ma'am, you were not supposed to follow him.
He hit my car!
So you think after chasing a man through traffic, cutting him off, pulling a gun, and watching him get shot, Hannah Payne might finally come back down to planet Earth and realise the gravity of what's just happened. But no, she's still in full performance mode, giving instructions, demanding officers, like she's coordinating a response team.
Okay, you got the tag number.
There's a police officer down the street. Tell them to come up here now. He pulled the trigger on my gun after he attacked me. Tell the police officers to turn around from the 285 entrance and come up here immediately.
Then she starts chatting to other witnesses, trying to fish for someone who'll back up her version of events. Well, she's already building a defense before the paramedics even arrive.
Can you say what happened? Ma'am, where are you guys located now? Ma'am.
I don't know.
And then a real police officer shows up. Thank God. Officer Ritchie. And rather than hang up the phone and explain herself like any normal person, Hannah stays on the line and just hands him the gun. Like that's all he needs. But it's not the gun they want. Then he takes one look at the chaos, one look at her, and shuts it down. No drama, no debate. He tells her to put the phone down and cuffs her on the spot. And Hannah, she starts spilling, explaining, justifying, spinning, like she still thinks she's directing the scene. Meanwhile, Kenneth is rushed to hospital, but he doesn't make it. He dies on the way. And that's the moment everything flips. Because now it's not just a regular civilian with a gun. It's a homicide. It's a man dead. And it all started with a crash she wasn't even involved in. So now it was time for the official interrogation. 2 detectives were placed in charge of the incident. Detective Hayward and Detective Moore. And this is where Hannah Payne really starts spinning her fantasy. She sits down and starts telling them that she never had her finger on the trigger. Apparently, it was resting on the side, which sounds innocent enough until you realise her gun had a safety mechanism built into the grip. There was an additional switch at the top of the grip that had to be squeezed alongside the trigger for the gun to actually fire. So let's break that down. I mean, she said she didn't mean to shoot him, but she had her hand on the gun. She squeezed the grip and she pulled the trigger. And she'd already racked the gun beforehand, meaning she'd chambered around ready to fire. That's 3 separate actions, 3 deliberate physical steps that all had to happen for that gun to go off. And on top of that, just to really seal the deal, she told him she would shoot him. So from someone who never intended to shoot, she managed to do every single thing required to make that happen. But that's not what she said, because in her version, it was all an accident, a misunderstanding, a moment of panic. And the detectives, they're sitting there listening to this, probably wondering how someone can be so deep in denial, they're trying to rewrite physics. But Hannah, she's not backing down. She's sticking to her story, even though the evidence, the audio, the video, the gun mechanics, and her own words say otherwise.
By the time we got to the end of right when I got to Riverdale Road, and we came around that curve, and I had an opportunity to get in front of him. Okay. I got in front of him, and I stopped in front of him. I got out, and I was on the phone. I told him, I was like, you need to stop, you need to pull over. And he's like, who are you, and who are you? And I'm like, I'm just no one, but I'm on the phone with the police. And that's when I was like right there for him. He's like, yeah, well, who are you, who are you? I got something for you. I'm like, okay. I said, I'm just telling you, you need to stop, and you need to pull over. And that's when I had this my phone in my hand, and I told him, I was like, you need to stop, and I'm right there by his door at this point. He reaches out and kind of like hit my phone out and grabbed my wrist. Okay. When he grabbed my wrist, we kind of started going back and forth, fighting, and that's when he punched the gas and he ran into my tire. And he's telling me the whole time, you know, oh, well, I don't know who you are, blah, blah, blah. And he was laying back, when he told me, I got something for you, reaching. And I don't know if he's reaching, I wasn't watching him, I was trying to pull away from him. And I had got him off of me, but he had my shirt, and that's when he ripped my shirt. He was pulling it. I have it underneath, like, because I mean, it's all the way open. And that's when me and him were going back and forth. Okay. But it was more me in the vehicle than it was him out, because he's pulling at me, he's tugging. Okay. So he's pulling, we're going back and forth, he's hitting, he's swinging. I'm trying to hit, but I'm also trying to pull away, because the only thing that I know for protecting me and this man is what I have on me. Now, by this point, I'm telling him, that's what I'm telling him, I have a gun. I said, and I will shoot you. And I'm pulling. This hand was free. I'm trying to just get away to get my phone. I couldn't. So then, that's when he's saying, yeah, okay, I got something for you. Something about, I don't even know who the F you are, you're nobody or whatever. And that's when I pulled it out because he's leaning, saying, I got something for you. This is him, he still had my hand.
Okay.
He's saying, I got something for you.
And you're leaning back away from the car?
Yeah, I'm being pulled in, but I'm trying to pull away, and that's when I pulled it out.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, I told him, you need to stop, that I had a gun and I would shoot. And he's like, yeah, okay, shoot me. And that's when he lunged, he let me go, but he lunged, pushes the door open.
Okay.
Which is when I thought he was pushing the door open. He leaned forward and he's reaching again, and when he grabbed my shirt and it ripped it.
Okay.
So then when he's reaching I already had it forward, reaching and it ripped. And I'm thinking here is when I'm trying to say I'm going to get away with the door thing. He grabs my hand with the gun.
Okay.
We're wrestling with it inside. And that's when he's turning it. And I managed to get it back towards him. And that's when it went off.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember telling myself to pull the trigger. Like, originally I was holding it like this.
Okay.
I didn't have it inside, and he's reaching and turning and twisting, and as he's turning it, he's, pulling, and we're going back and forth. So, of course, I bought it for protection. Not that I have any intentions on ever trying to use it, but I was trying to get prepared for whatever I need to be prepared for, thinking I'd be able to pull away and then just go, get away from him, and that's not how it happened.
So after the interview, and as they do before they're about to charge you, they took photos and gathered any items of clothing that were relevant to the case. And what did they find? A torn top, a couple of faint bruises you could barely see, and what looked like the smallest scratch I have ever seen in my life on her lip. I mean, honestly, it was hardly worth documenting. My cat would have done more damage than that just walking past her. And so, of course, she was charged and booked into county jail to appear in court the next day. And that's when she was appointed Matthew Tucker as her attorney, who I swear deserves a bloody medal for what he managed to pull off. Because somehow, with a straight face, he filed motions arguing that it was self-defense. He said she was a good Samaritan who got caught in a bad situation. He claimed the state had omitted part of the 911 call and the part that would have apparently helped the defense. And he said there was cell phone footage of the whole thing that would support his self-defense theory. I mean, how she got bond to this day, I do not know. But she did. And the trial was set. But because of COVID, the time, it dragged and dragged and dragged. So following the bond hearing, local media caught up with both families, each with a very different opinion on the result. I mean, Kenneth Herring's family were devastated and confused that she'd been granted bond.
The law is quite clear. After 90 days, that's when you're entitled to a bond.
She didn't have 90 days.
She was not even within the 90-day period.
So she's not entitled
right?
by law.
So she's not entitled to a bond. Let me tell you why I believe she got a bond. It was the defense attorney, Mr. Tucker, strategically said, and I want to show the court her support. And if you're in support of her, everyone stand up. The entire room stood up. That was strategic. Now, let me tell you why I personally, and this is not on behalf of family, but as an activist, why I personally believe the judge gave her a bond. Election time, and I think race played a part in it. I truly believe that. But it's election time. Election time will be coming around. Folks want to be remembered for doing the good thing. The bond was low. This was a low bond. If you were going to give a bond that's reasonable.
Ma'am, did you want to say anything in light of today?
She shouldn't have got a bond. I know that. Nobody else got a bond for the same thing.
While Hannah Payne's side are clearly relieved, trying to frame her as some kind of misunderstood do-gooder.
Or maybe speak up because we're...
Okay.
So if you can, just give us your first and last name for both of you.
My name is Margaret Payne. This is my husband, Rick Payne.
Rick Payne, okay. So you guys are very emotional today. Talk about hearing, you obviously got an outcome that you were looking for, a $100,000 bond. Your reaction?
I'm speechless. I'm just so glad, that it went that way. I mean, we're sorry for what happened and everything in regards to Mr. Herring's family and everything, but Hannah is not the person that they are saying she is. She's not at all. She's the sweetest, most caring, does not see colour, does not see race, nothing at all. She is just an amazing human being. She is, and if you ever get the chance to know her, you'll realise that as soon as you lay eyes on her.
Social media, of course, did not hold back. The case went viral and Hannah was quickly branded as a racist Karen vigilante with an attitude. Someone who took the law into her own hands and expected to be praised for it. And then nothing. 3 years passed, motions were filed, complaints were made, delays stacked up. And finally, at the end of 2022, the trial was set to begin. So Judge Malone was presiding. The courtroom was ready. The families were there and the media were watching. But there was one problem. Hannah's attorney, Matthew Tucker, was nowhere to be seen. And Judge Malone, she didn't hold back. She immediately started telling the entire courtroom exactly what she thought of Tucker, holding him in contempt on the spot. She'd apparently had issues with him before, and this was the final straw.
There, however, is no indication that he had a stroke. So I cannot go forward with the trial today because Ms. Payne is not represented. But what I will tell you, Ms. Payne, is you need to seriously seek new counsel. I am going to find that Mr. Tucker is in contempt of court. He failed to follow the rules of court in notifying the court. I am going to also file a grievance with the State Bar of Georgia because of his behavior. This is not the first time I've had an issue with him failing to come and come on time. He's doing you a disservice because you've been here. And you have a right to have counsel who's going to be diligently representing you and advocating on you zealously, and he has not been doing that. So I would advise you to find new counsel. I will take care of everything else on my end. There's not going to be a trial today in the matter of State of Georgia versus Hannah Payne. Those of you who are here for that trial are free to go. There will be another trial, however, and if you have my ready list, you know you need to be ready.
But then came the twist. Tucker's excuse was that he'd had a stroke. And the judge, clearly thinking it was just another delay tactic, actually called the hospital to verify it. And it turned out he was telling the truth.
I was astonished. I couldn't believe it. She kind of, made me look real bad on TV. Not a disservice. We've been waiting for this trial for 3 years.
So now the whole thing flipped. Tucker filed a grievance against the judge, saying she discredited his name in open court and acted completely unprofessionally. He demanded she be removed from the case, and she was. Because not only had she gone off on him in front of everybody, she'd also advised Hannah to seek new counsel, which legally crossed a line. So the trial was postponed again. And now, instead of wrapping up in 2022, it was pushed back another year until December 2023. So the day had finally come. December 6th, 2023. After years of delays, the courtroom was ready, the family were present, and the world was watching. A new judge had taken the bench, Judge Jewel Scott. And from the moment she spoke, the room shifted. I mean, she spoke like my nan. It was surreal. hearing that warm, almost grandmotherly tone, delivering lines with surgical precision. I mean, every sentence stripped away excuses. Every ruling landed like a hammer. She didn't shout. She didn't need to. Her authority was baked into every syllable. Representing the state were Assistant District Attorneys Bonnie Smith and Nigel Lush. And let me tell you, they were brilliant. I mean, they were composed and emotionally invested. You could feel it. They weren't just prosecuting a case. They were angry. Angry at the defendant, angry at the circumstances. And that fire, it came through in every line they delivered. Then there was Matthew Tucker. What do you even say about him? He was emotionally invested too. That much was clear. But it was strange. He didn't just defend Payne. He seemed to believe her. Like genuinely believe her version of events that kept falling apart the moment evidence was introduced. From the opening statements, he was swerving around the truth, making claims that would later be shredded by the 911 call recordings. And I'll talk about that more throughout the trial commentary. Because honestly, it was quite frustrating at times. I mean, I was close to shouting at the telly on occasion. I mean, did he really believe what he was saying? Or was it just strategy? I mean, either way, those tactics rubbed off on the defendant. By the end, it felt like Tucker and Payne were living in their own version of reality, while the state had the truth and the evidence to back it up. I mean, it was surreal, like watching two parallel trials unfold in the same room. And the charges, they were stacked. So 1 count of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of false imprisonment, and 3 counts of using a firearm whilst in the commission of a felony. So the stage was set, and as protocol dictates, it began with opening statements. The state went first. Bonnie stepped up and set a tone that would carry through the entire trial. Loud, clear, and relentless.
On May the 7th of 2019, Defendant Hannah Renee Payne had the audacity to chase, corner, detain, assault, shoot, and kill an unarmed 62-year-old Kenneth Herring who was sitting in his own car. All because she didn't like his driving and she didn't like how he acted. This story begins with Kenneth Herring in his car driving along, and there's pretty much no doubt that he runs a red light in the area that we've all been talking about, near Forest Parkway and Riverdale Road. When he runs that red light, this defendant and another tractor trailer were coming toward that intersection. And Mr. Herring hits the trailer. This defendant sees it, and there's another witness who sees it, a correctional officer by the name of Terry Robinson. And everybody pulls off to the side to deal with the fact that there's just been a traffic accident. So traffic is piled up, cars everywhere, no one can really get anywhere. And it's taking law enforcement a few moments to get to the scene. Well, the defendant didn't like that. She didn't like how long it was taking, and you'll hear that she called back. But you're also going to hear that Terry Robinson called. And he called because he had concerns for Mr. Herring. Mr. Herring appeared somewhat confused after the accident. Kept saying, "Who hit me? What's happening?" Things along those lines. And then started saying things like, "I didn't do anything wrong." Some confusion going on with Mr. Herring. And Mr. Robinson is going to tell you that not only is he a correctional officer, he's a correctional officer at a medical prison. And that he made some observations of Mr. Herring that led him to believe that it was a medical issue. He did not observe anything that made him believe that Mr. Herring had been drinking or that he was under the influence of anything. Just that he was having some sort of medical issue. He realized at some point, Mr. Robinson did, that Mr. Herring's kind of circling his vehicle. And they begin to think, he doesn't know what's going on. He might get in his car and drive somewhere. So that's why Mr. Robinson calls 911 a second time saying, listen, I asked y'all for an ambulance 20 minutes ago. Something's not okay here. Something's wrong with this gentleman. Where's the ambulance? And the defendant calls. Well, I called y'all 20 minutes ago. And then starts saying, I think he's going to leave the scene. And sure enough, Mr. Herring does get in his vehicle and begin driving. And the defendant, even though the first accident really didn't have very little to do with her, has the audacity to get in her vehicle and chase him. And while she's driving off, Mr. Robinson is basically saying, well, maybe you can get a picture of the tag or get the tag number. Maybe you can get that information. The defendant is narrating what she's doing to the 911 operator, who of course, tells the defendant, ma'am, don't chase him. That's not safe. Don't follow him. We don't need you to do that. But this defendant, as far as she was concerned, was the rightest person she knew. Because she tells that 911 operator, well, I'm not going to follow him. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't like how he's driving, basically. And follows him. And you're going to hear from witnesses who say they saw the defendant, ironically, driving very aggressively to try to chase down the person who had a traffic accident a few moments ago, or 20, 30 minutes earlier. Cutting people off, almost hitting people, jumping over a median to then block Mr. Herring in. You're not going to hear any evidence that she's law enforcement of any kind, has any authority to arrest him, write him any tickets, nothing. Just her authority comes solely from audacity. Blocks him in. Now, all of this is narrated on a 911 call. And you will hear the defendant screaming, "Get out of the car! Get out of the car!" And witnesses will tell you that she jumps out and is going straight to his driver's side. And one witness tell you she thought that she was hitting the window. But it turns out Mr. Herring's window was part of the way down. And that this defendant is reaching in to where Mr. Herring is sitting in the car, in the truck. A vehicle that she basically pulls over, even though number one, she was told not to. Number two, she had already given law enforcement his tag number. And number three, she knew that law enforcement was in the area. You'll hear that. Because she talks about it on the 911 call. And she knew that the car wasn't going to go very far. She says that on the 911 call. His car's smoking and stuff, so he's not going to get far. So she could have backed off and just let it be. Nope, not good enough. So she's jumping out screaming. And the witnesses will tell you that they observed her being the primary aggressor. The defendant reaching in and assaulting Mr. Herring. And that they never saw Mr. Herring do anything to the defendant. The most that anyone saw Mr. Herring do is kind of a get away from me. He doesn't know he doesn't know her. Kind of a get away. But they never saw him strangle her, hurt her, punch her, nothing. And nothing in his hands. Unarmed. But what happens is because Mr. Herring is trying to defend himself, he moves his vehicle, or either his vehicle goes into gear, is already still in gear. Either his vehicle is still in gear, and while he's trying to deal with the defendant at his door, his car moves forward. And what happens is that he bumps into her Jeep. Her black and pink Jeep. And she's going to tell you, you're going to hear her say that that's why she shoots him. And once that happens, you'll hear an escalation in what she's saying. Get the fuck out of the car! Get the fuck out of the car! I will shoot you! I will shoot you! And that's what the witnesses heard. This is not something she's saying to herself in the privacy of her own vehicle for her own release. She's standing right up on Mr. Herring with a gun in her hand. The witnesses will tell you at some point while she's at the door, she takes a gun off her hip and is pointing that gun in the vehicle. She's the aggressor. That's what the witnesses are going to tell you. You'll hear all of this because she's still on the phone with 911. Phone's a little further away from the window because it's on the ground. Mr. Herring is trying his best not to get shot at this point. Still no weapon. Still trying to get the gun away from him, away from her, whatever. She's the only one with a weapon. So he is trying to defend himself. And after she shoots him, she picks up the phone with the 911 operator going, Ma'am, you are not supposed to follow him. She's going to tell you, the very first thing she says, he hit my car. That's what she says. You will hear her tell you in her own words why she killed this man. Then she tells the 911 operator, he pulled the trigger on my gun and shot himself. That's the level of audacity you're going to hear. Trying to claim this man would shoot himself. When we believe that the evidence will show through the witnesses, video, photographs will prove otherwise.
Then came Matthew Tucker. And let's be honest, this guy was climbing uphill from the start. I mean, the state had 4 eyewitnesses covering the incident from every angle. They had audio from the 911 call. They had a video of the actual shooting. I mean, if this guy could get any sort of result out of this trial, it certainly wouldn't do his career any harm.
Okay, Attorney Tucker, you may make your opening statement.
Thank you. And I apologize, you had to sit through a lengthy period for us to clarify a few things, but we're here. This is what we discussed when we were talking about it and trying to make sure that y'all had an open mind, a fair mind, and an impartial mind, because there's been a lot of media coverage, there's been a lot of talk about this. And it's finally come the day to put up a show. We got a situation, and let me, for the record, make it clear, this is a tragic situation. It's a tragic situation because one man has lost his life and the other person has lost their chance to ever really live a normal life. So as we go through here and we see people try to paint a bullseye around an individual, the paint's not going to be there. That's not going to be enough evidence to make it look like a bullseye. It's not even going to be enough evidence to make it look like a target. So when you hear the evidence, and we anticipate the evidence to come out and talk about an accident, not a fender bender, an accident. A truck that runs a red light, nails, not just hits, nails an 18-wheeler and disables it, puts it to the side. The correctional officer does show up on the scene. He identifies himself as a law authority and a correctional officer, and he's trying to take control of the scene and make sure everything's going on. And he turns and starts getting a little bit more excited. And he's telling, somebody get a picture of that, somebody get a picture of that. Finally, Hannah is on the phone with 911, telling them pretty much the same thing. Man, what? I don't know, this guy's leaving the scene. Get the tag number, get the tag number. And the correction officer, get the tag number, go, go, go. That's what you're gonna hear on 911. You're not gonna hear anything different. You're gonna hear that. You're gonna get to decide what was meant when he tells her, go, 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 get that tag. And she's on the phone with 911. And of course, 911 hearing both, can you get the tag? He goes, yes ma'am, I can get the tag. In a calm voice, not an excited voice, calm voice. Do we get it? Just let her get the tag. And she starts rattling off the tag. Then all of a sudden, it's like, man, we don't want you to pursue you. We want your safety. We want for your safety to stop pursuing and to come back to the scene of the accident. And that's where she says, man, I'm not gonna not. I mean, he's already caused one accident. Can't I just kind of lay back, scoot back a little bit more, but make sure the authorities know this is the vehicle they're looking for? And she says, no, I want you both come back right now. And that's when she pulls in front. And then you will see and you'll hear from witnesses and you'll get to see the vehicle. She didn't ram him, she didn't cut him off. There's enough road out there on Forest Parkway and River Road. You can move around everywhere and you will see there was sufficient means. Granted, it might not have been the smartest thing in the world to do, but she's young. She sits there and listens to authority. She believes that people still have good in them. And she comes out with the phone. Hey, I got the police on the phone. You need to go back to that accident. You need to go back here. Only to hear that engine rev up and try to ram. And you hear the engine in the 911, you hear the scream. And yes, you're gonna hear the screams turn from the calm person on the phone to somebody a little frantic. And as she gets up there close with that phone, lo and behold, guess who grabs her and tries to pull her in that car. Now, the witness will tell you, there's no gun pulled at that time, it's just a phone. She just wants them to talk here. Talk to them, they want to talk to you. They want you to go back, they want me to go back. She's not thinking about that. She's shocked that the guy grabbed her when he's just trying to hand the phone or let the phone, she see that the police are on it to talk to him. And upon grabbing her, it's pulling her into the car. And you will see pictures. And you will hear testimony. And you will see scratches all over her neck. Scratches on the back of her head. All these bruises on her face. You're going to see those. These are evidence that are going to come in. These pictures were taken right after the incident. And you're going to see her shirt just ripped completely wide open. And she's screaming, get out of it, get off of me, get out of the car. She does let him know she has a gun. And his response, or something that we probably shouldn't say if somebody says they have a gun. But nonetheless, as she's trying to get back from the car, and she's pushing and she's screaming, you'll see the marks on her knees where she's up on her tippy toes, get pulling, she's trying to use her knees to get back. And he's leaning in there trying to grab something. And you will be able to see the contents of what was in that vehicle. And you'll be able to use your common sense and your experience when you sit to see, what was about to happen, what was going to happen, what may have been said. But nonetheless, she does go to pull the gun. As she's being pulled from this side into the vehicle, and she's being pulled from this side, trying to get her gun. Bam, there's another hand on it. And you will see pictures. You'll see a quick video that shows what happened. But when you slow it down and you look at the still shots, you're gonna see what happens. As they're screaming and frantically pulling and bam, this gun goes off. And you see her grab that phone and immediately, oh my God, He just pulled the trigger on my gun and shot himself. We need an ambulance. We need the EMT out here. Please, we need the EMT. As witnesses walk around, talking, asking questions, she's continuously saying, where's the ambulance? There's one right there. Get an ambulance here. He just shot himself. She has no malice intent. She's never seen anything like that. 21 years old. But she knows somebody's hurting and they need an ambulance. But look at all that occurred. And look at what you've got to listen to and what you've got to make a decision to. Because I believe if we can get all this evidence in that I've seen, if we can get all this evidence in, and I don't think we are, if we can get it all in, you're going to be able to make the right decision. And a right decision, not only can you look at the state when you make that decision, but you can look at Hannah Payne in the eye too. And you can know right here and right here, you made the right decision based on the evidence you heard, based on the evidence you saw, based on the experience and knowledge you have. So I welcome you to sit and listen to all this evidence. I will try my best to bring in as much as I can. There will be some objections. There'll be some stuff taken out that you probably moved out. Why was that taken out?
Judge, I'm going to object to that comment. That's an absolutely inappropriate comment. As you just instructed this jury, their job is to not consider evidence that was properly excluded because it doesn't comport with the rules of evidence. And so his encouragement to consider what I object to and to consider what's excluded is highly inappropriate, and I would ask that the jury be instructed to disregard that comment and that counsel be instructed to not make any such further inappropriate comments.
And Your Honor, I would say I'm not referring to what we had a conference about. There's going to be other issues that are just not there. And the jury has the right to sit back and say, why isn't it there? I'm not specifically saying the one that we had it, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that's not there. And they're to use their knowledge and experience to understand if they carry their burden beyond a reasonable doubt. And evidence not being presented helps them in that decision.
So I'm going to sustain the objection and instruct you not to engage in that, Attorney Tucker.
Engage in missing evidence?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I apologize. But you'll have enough to see. You'll have your own experience, your own knowledge. You'll get to make your decision based on what you see and what you know. I feel comfortable that when you see all this and you hear it all, there's no audacity. There's no somebody being malicious. It's a situation that somebody very young got put in, following the direction of authority, that by the grace of God, she's alive to say today. And I don't want to take away from the tragedy of the loss, because it is. But I do want you to look at how it came to be, and if somebody has committed malice murder, or felony murder, or false imprisonment. This is a young girl doing what she was told to do, and you will hear the evidence. And I won't take any more of your time because I'm ready to get in that evidence. Thank you so much, and at the end of the trial, as I said, no matter what decision you come to, be able to look at the state, be able to look at my client, say you made the right decision. And I believe once the evidence is done, you'll be able to do that and let her know she's not guilty. Thank you.
So the scene was set, and the trial followed standard protocol. The state presents their case first, witnesses, exhibits, everything. And once they're done, they rest. That's when the defense gets their turn. So just so we're clear, in any criminal trial, the burden of proof always lies with the state. They have to prove the defendant is guilty. The defense don't have to prove anything. In fact, they don't even have to present a case at all. That's why some defendants never testify, because legally they don't have to. The burden is always on the accuser. So the state kicked things off with one of Kenneth's younger sisters. Her role was simple, to confirm that Kenneth was diabetic. But as would become protocol, Matthew Tucker was as annoying as ever. By the end of his totally irrelevant cross-examination, packed with sustained objections, he was done and she was released. And for anyone unfamiliar with courtroom language, when someone objects and the judge sustains it, that means the judge basically agrees. The question gets struck and the jury are instructed to disregard it completely. So the attorney who asks it then has to either move on or rephrase the question in a way that's acceptable to the court. I mean, I'll break that down more as it happens throughout the trial, but I just wanted to flag it early because Tucker's tactics mean this is going to come up a lot. So next up was Terry Williams, a correctional officer assigned to the medical wing at the prison he works at. So not only is he trained to spot when someone's acting off, but he's also familiar with the signs of a diabetic episode, as he has seen it more than once. So Terry was the gentleman who arrived at the original scene, the pickup and the semi, and witnessed it all. I mean, firsthand. He made 2 911 calls initially and then another about 20 minutes later. And here's where things start to unravel. That second call, it was made at the exact same time Hannah Payne was making hers, which leaves you thinking she didn't need to do a thing here. She didn't need to stop. Terry was already there checking on everyone. She didn't need to call 911. Terry was already doing it, and she knew that. She didn't need to chase Kenneth down. Somebody had already written down the tag, and all she had to do was ask. Unbelievable. Anyway, I digress. I mean, the 911 calls were played in court, and Terry explained to the state that he was just there to help. He made a second call because he was concerned about Kenneth's behaviour. Not aggressive, just off. He was trying to do the right thing. Then Tucker stepped up, and this marked the beginning of a painful string of cross-examinations, full of underhand tactics. I mean, his strategy: bully the witness, confuse them, push them until they slip and say something slightly different to what they said 4 years ago, then pick at it over and over. I mean, he knows he can't use the evidence to help his case, so he tries to discredit it entirely. And I've got to say, I really don't like these tactics. In the courtroom, everything is stacked in the defendant's favour. You have to protect their rights, follow the rule to the letter, or risk giving them grounds for appeal. But the least they can do is rein in this kind of behaviour. So court is supposed to be about truth, but this is not how you get it. I'll talk more about this later, but I want to prep you now. This is not a one-off. Tucker pulls this with every witness, and I genuinely believe his tactics and his appalling advice played a major role in Payne's massive sentence. I mean, the only reason her family ever had faith in him was because he got her out on bond. But let's be honest, that wasn't skill, it was luck. He's been pulling the wool over their eyes since day one. So anyway, he does this thing with Terry. And by the end, the whole courtroom is tired of it. I mean, don't worry, I'll only be playing a few clips, as I wouldn't want you getting bored and clicking off.
When writing reports, sir, you give the details of then done, then later on hopefully there will be investigations afterwards.
So you anticipated there was going to be an investigation after you wrote your report and after the police showed up to take care of that accident?
Which accident you're saying?
The one that you witnessed, the only one you witnessed. The 18-wheeler and Mr. Herring.
This generally happens when the incident occurs. They do investigations. I assume that's what takes place and happens. Most of our officers, anything that takes place, there's an investigation afterwards.
Now, you started off your testimony here with a diagram that you didn't give the exact location of this accident, correct? That you witnessed.
The diagrams showing there is where the other incident occurred. I stated that I came from the other incident down to the incident that took place afterwards.
You don't recall being asked, is this where the 18-wheeler and the truck had an accident?
We said that the accident was occurred at Forest Parkway and Clark Howell. That's what I stated. The incident happened with Forest Park and Clark Howell.
If somebody who's identified themselves as a correctional officer is asking somebody to take a picture of the tag, and here somebody else is going to get the tag and says, good, good, go. You don't think that was a form of encouragement?
To go
get the tag or take a picture of the tag?
Take a picture of the tag. Again, I didn't have a picture of the tag. I was just, again, they would need a picture of the tag until afterwards. That's when Mr. Kimball said, hey, here's a picture, here's a picture. And that's when we then were able to give them clarity of the tag.
But at that moment, you felt it was important to get a picture of that tag or to get some way to identify that vehicle, correct?
Yes, because the person was fleeing the incident.
And this person was fleeing the incident, having walked around his car, having walked around asking about braking laws, and appeared, as you said, irritable.
Yes.
And at no time did you feel that you needed to take the keys out of the truck because you thought the truck was not going to move or was disabled?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
So next up was the law side of things, the backbone of the investigation. We had the two detectives who carried out the interrogation, Detective Hayward and Detective Moore. Then came the medical examiner, the forensics team, and finally, Officer Ritchie. So he was the first one on scene. And this is where things get spicy. I mean, we've got body cam footage of Officer Ritchie arriving. And who's there to greet him? Hannah Payne. Mid-phone call, not even pretending to be helpful. So next, out of the state's bag of tricks, was 3 eyewitnesses. All women and all sharp. I mean, all of them saw the same thing, although you wouldn't think so after their time with Tucker. Each one gave a clear, consistent account. Payne was the aggressor. That was the core of their testimony.
I was getting off work as I was approaching Forest Parkway. I was making a left off Atlanta South Parkway. As I was making my left and getting into the far right lane, Miss Hannah was coming up Forest Parkway. She was coming from the end off of Highway 85, and she almost ran me off the road. She was speeding. She was going very fast. When she almost ran me off the road, my coworker actually called me and was like, that car almost ran you off the road. And I said, yeah, she's probably going to cause an accident. So I proceeded up Forest Parkway. She was weaving in and out of traffic. And she had maneuvered her car in front of another vehicle and stopped them and caused the scene.
And when you say she was trying to fight him through the window, what did you actually see?
I just saw her hands moving, get out of the car, motherfucker, doing all this. I never saw anyone's hands come out of the window, per se, but I did see her at the window.
After you observed her hands moving and telling the victim to get out of the vehicle, what, if anything else, did you see?
Her pull a gun. After she pulled the gun, she shot him and she said, "Now you need an ambulance."
I was coming down here in this little area right here. It was like a pickup truck right there, and a Jeep came and like ran over this little spot and blocked him. And blocked him from driving, so he abruptly braked. And it caught my attention because it was like really aggressive. I thought it was just road rage at the time. And then a woman popped out of the car and she said, "Get the F out of the truck," to him a bunch of times. And she pulled out a gun, and I remember there was a lot of traffic, so we couldn't really move, and people started honking to get the heck out of the way.
What drew my attention was seeing a Jeep abruptly come around the rest of the traffic and stopped in front of a red truck. That's what drew my attention. I began to slow down.
Okay.
She got out of her Jeep and she immediately went to the truck driver's side, yelling and punching.
Now, when you say punching, what was she punching?
She was punching the man in the truck repeatedly because his window was down, and she just kept punching him over and over and over.
And you indicated that that driver was yelling. Could you hear what she was saying when she got out yelling?
Could not hear what she was saying. I just know she was yelling at the driver of the truck.
But Tucker, he tried his usual routine. Confuse them, twist their words, make it sound like they're contradicting themselves, just because one said red t-shirt and the other one said burgundy. I mean, Nigel Lush touched on this in her closing argument, and she was spot on. Even if their stories differ slightly, the core truth never changed. Hannah Payne initiated the confrontation. And here's why the state really hammered that point home. The top charge on the indictment was malice murder. And that's the one that really matters. So those other charges, they're not irrelevant, but they're just not the main events. They're backup dancers, basically. Malice murder is the headliner. So you might ask, if they're all so similar, why charge all three? It's basically tactical. Each count has different legal requirements, and the prosecution isn't taking any chances. To convict on malice murder, they have to prove intent, so that Payne meant to do it. And just to be clear, this isn't about premeditated murder, where you have to plan it days in advance. I mean, malice can be formed in a split second. All it takes is a conscious decision at the scene. But here's the real reason they stack the charges. If for whatever reason the jury doesn't buy intent, so if they think Payne didn't mean to kill, then the prosecution still has a path to conviction through felony murder. It's a legal safety net. They go for the top charge first, malice murder, but if they can't meet that high burden of proof, they don't need a new trial. They can simply pivot to the next charge down. It ensures Payne doesn't walk free, just because one element isn't proven beyond reasonable doubt. Because if they'd only charged with malice murder, and the jury didn't believe the intent, then there was no lesser charge on the table. I mean, she could walk, and that's not a risk the state are willing to take. So yes, they stack the charges, not because they're throwing spaghetti at the wall, but because they're building a ladder. And whichever rung the jury grabs, Payne's still going to go down. And if you ask me, she's going to struggle against the intent. I mean, she racked the gun the moment she got out of the car, loaded it, ready to fire. And this wasn't a hair trigger weapon. I mean, it had a double safety mechanism. She had to consciously do 3 things to shoot. And then she said out loud, "I will shoot you." I mean, intent, that is gift wrapped. And as for being the aggressor, every single witness confirmed it, which legally wipes out any chance of a self-defense plea. I mean, Georgia law is crystal clear. You cannot claim self-defense if you are the aggressor. So the state had 2 shots at the target. Prove intent, land malice murder, prove she was the aggressor, kill the defense. And honestly, they nailed both. I mean, she's not just in trouble. I mean, she's legally cornered. And Tucker's tactics, they didn't help. They just made the whole thing messier.
And you said that she jumped out screaming and punching the victim, correct?
So she was outside of her car fighting the man at the window.
But in your statement to the police, you said she jumped out of her vehicle.
I said she jumped in front of the victim's vehicle causing an accident.
And then what does it say after that?
She jumped out screaming, punching the victim. She pulled a gun and shot him. She was not even remorseful.
Okay, now, you stated earlier that you did not see her get out of that Jeep. You only saw her beside the window.
How else would she have gotten to the window if she didn't get out of her car?
Ma'am, I'm asking the questions, okay? I'm asking you a yes-no question. Did you see her get out of that Jeep and approach that window?
I don't recall seeing her get out of the Jeep. Once I got to Riverdale Road, she was already there. To my recollection. It's been some years.
But your recollection at the time it occurred when you wrote that statement, you said that she jumped out of the vehicle and ran up to the window and started punching him.
I would assume she jumped out of the vehicle. I never said she ran up to the window. I said she jumped out screaming, punching the victim. She pulled out a gun and shot him.
Okay. So that's not a true and accurate statement because you didn't see her get out of the vehicle, correct?
Well, that would be the only way she could get out her vehicle is to get to his window. She had to get out her vehicle to get to his window.
Ma'am, I asked you. That is not a true and accurate statement, what you said, because you did not see her get out of the Jeep and approach the window, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
There was no answer. There was a commentary without an answer. I don't mind her doing the commentary after she answers yes or no, but she never answered yes or no.
She answered that she did not see her get out of the vehicle.
Does that look like a fair and accurate representation of what you wrote that day?
Yes.
Is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I would like to introduce Defense Exhibit number 8.
Any objection from the state? No objection, Your Honor. No objection.
All right, now that you've had time to review that document, did you ever mention about a Jeep jumping a median to cut off the truck?
No.
Okay. And looking at that statement you made, your testimony here today is that she jumped out with a gun and held him at gunpoint, correct?
Yes.
Okay. From that statement you wrote right there, did you say anything about her jumping out with a gun and holding him at gunpoint?
No.
Okay. And in fact, in that statement, you said that they started hitting and then a gun was pulled, correct?
No.
Okay. What did you say?
She cut him off and he had to brake suddenly and he almost hit her by like an inch. Then she hopped out so quickly, screaming, and pulled up her shirt with her gun. Then she started hitting him.
Okay. Now, the part there that he did not hit the vehicle at the beginning, correct?
Yes.
But then you did state that he did ram the vehicle or hit the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
So there was a space between them that he didn't hit. He had an area of space between the two vehicles, correct? There was no accident at that time.
Yes.
And I believe in your testimony it said he could have backed up and left without hitting her, correct?
No.
You just stated it a second ago. You said he could have pulled back and gone away without hitting her.
No, there was no space between their vehicles for her to be in front of him to hit her, and she was at his driver's window, so if he was trying to get away, he would have hit her.
Okay, ma'am, your testimony just a minute ago, you said that she was at the window and he could have
Yes.
backed up and drove off without hitting her.
Okay. I don't recall saying that, and if I did say that, I don't agree. Because she was at his driver's window. So, no.
And Your Honor, I'm not sure if the court reporter can repeat back exactly what she said, but if it is possible, I'd like for the reporter to allow her to hear what she said previously.
To turn left, but I didn't make it to the light to turn left because I stopped because of the incident.
So whereabouts did you stop?
When I say like right across from the incident, if I can ask a question, is this the highway? Is this where you get ready to get on the highway? Okay. Okay. Well, right before the turn, before you get on the highway, that's exactly where I stopped on the opposite side. So I didn't make it as far as the light to get ready to turn left. I wanted to turn left, but I didn't make it that far. So we're saying right up in here somewhere.
Okay, and where did the incident occur?
On the opposite side of where I was. So I guess over in here somewhere. Right before you get ready to turn on the highway. I mean, to make this, I'm sorry, to make the turn. So I didn't get as far as here. There was a line of cars here. So I had to be somewhere right up in here and where the incident was. I just know that he was headed towards the highway. He was in the turning lane for the highway, but she stopped it.
Okay, so nothing occurred over here.
What area?
This area down there.
No, we were on that side.
Okay. Okay. So you stopped and you're about, say, 10 yards away from it, and you said 10 yards. I'm sorry. Okay, and you said that she didn't have the gun drawn or anything, correct?
Not when she first got out, no.
Okay. But you said you just walked up, just started beating. Okay. So she's punching. She pulls the gun from the left side.
She wasn't punching at the time she pulled the gun. She punched. She stepped back, pulled the gun out, held the gun, then proceeded to go back to the car and began punching again.
Right. And you said she switched the gun with the hands.
I believe so.
Okay, so she pulled the left arm, she switched it up to go with the left.
To go punch again.
With the left hand.
Are you saying hold the gun with the left hand or punch with the left hand?
You said that, and in your words, I want you to explain it. She pulled the gun out with her left hand, and you said at one point she switched the gun
I think
to the other hand.
From what I remember, this was a long time ago, she pulled the gun out with her left hand, but she was holding it. Get out the car.
She was holding it with both hands.
Unless he didn't comply, she came up to the car, and I believe that's when she switched hands so she could begin punching again.
And she switched hands to which hand?
I believe she switched to the left. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe she was punching with the right hand.
Okay. And she pulled the gun with the left hand.
Because I believe it was on her left side.
And then she switched it back to the left?
When she was punching.
Okay, so at one point she had it in her right hand.
Yes. You said at what point?
Yes, ma'am.
After she finished punching for the first time, she pulled it out, pointed the gun, and if I'm not mistaken, she had both hands on the gun. When she got ready to approach again to punch again, maybe that's what it is, the gun was switched so she could punch. So the right hand, because when she reached in the car, the gun was in that same right hand.
And then came Cameron Williams. I mean, from the moment he walked in, you could tell this guy was a character. I mean, still trying to work him out, honestly. But like these three ladies before him, he was actually quite likeable, which was a welcome change considering we'd spent the last few hours listening to Hannah bark orders and Tucker play courtroom twister. I mean, Cameron looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. And fair enough, nobody likes being subpoenaed. But just like jury duty, when you're called, you show up. And maybe, just maybe, you pretend not to want to bolt out of the back door. I mean, his dad was a cop, which added a strange type of dynamic to the whole situation. But what really stood out was a moment during Bonnie's direct, when she brought up, unprompted, that Cameron had asked her before the trial if she could help him out with a DUI case he had hanging over him. I mean, she made it clear she told him no and that she couldn't intervene. But she also made sure to get ahead of it. Because if Tucker had been the one to bring it up, you can bet he would have twisted that into something it wasn't. Bonnie was not about to let that happen. She got in there first, neutralised the angle, and made sure it would not taint the trial. I mean, that was a smart move, tactical, exactly what you want from a prosecutor who knows how Tucker plays.
And so you, back in 2019, you turned over the video and made your interview. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, in the meantime, have you had a request of me to assist you with a traffic arrest that you have had?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you ask me?
I asked you, could you put in a word for me or just help me out for something that I had dealing with last summer as far as DUI.
Okay, and that was something that happened in 2022.
3-4 years afterwards.
Okay, and you are aware that I don't
Yes.
work in traffic court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and have I made you any promise that I will get your case dismissed or anything like that?
No, you just said you would put in a word for me.
Then halfway through the direct examination, the judge ordered him out of the courtroom to refresh his memory. I mean, translation, he wasn't taking it seriously at all.
Mr. Williams, there's a request to refresh your memory about your interview with the police officers, and so we're not going to continue with your testimony at this juncture. In terms of cross-examination. So an investigator from the DA's office is going to take you back there so that you can refresh your memory about the interview, and then we're going to bring you back for cross-examining to occur. Yes? Okay, thank you so much. So you may step down.
And honestly, it felt like there was more than just a DUI on his mind. He just wanted to say nothing and go. And before we get to the serious bits, I've got to mention something that genuinely made me laugh. I mean, I watch a lot of this stuff. And when it comes to body language, forget the nose-scratching myths. I mean, the real experts look for baseline behaviour. So how someone acts normally. Then they look for shifts when the pressure hits. That's how you spot the tells. And Bonnie, she's normally hard-faced, no-nonsense, don't mess with me kind of energy. But when Cameron walked in, something shifted. I mean, she softened just a little. It was subtle, but unmistakable. That usual still in her expression gave way to something lighter, almost giddy. Like she'd just seen an old friend she wasn't even expecting. So Cameron, for his part, looked like a shy sixth former who'd just been asked to read in front of the class. Slightly awkward, slightly embarrassed, but trying to keep it together. The whole exchange was actually quite sweet. A rare human moment in a trial that had been heavy from the start. I mean, it gave the courtroom a brief pause from the tension. A flicker of warmth before diving back into the serious business at hand. But anyway, the reason Cameron was really there, he was the one who filmed the video, the one who captured the meat and potatoes, the confrontation. And once that video hit the courtroom, everything changed.
And you indicated that you pulled out your phone and recorded. Are you kind of moving past it as
I was actually traveling past it when I was recording.
And you would agree that there's some sort of struggle or tussle between the two people?
Yes, I ended up getting got to check on the guy after I heard the gunshot.
When you recorded what was on your phone, were you able to then view that recording?
Yes, I actually sent it to an officer on the site that same day.
So the prosecution had now arrested.
Does the state have any other witnesses that it intends to call?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
Okay.
So now it was time for the defence to respond, and all eyes turned to Matthew Tucker. So as expected, Tucker didn't give a straight answer. When Judge Scott asked if he'd be presenting a defence, he started with the usual dance, claiming he'd subpoenaed a few witnesses and was just waiting to hear when they'd arrive. Then came the vague suggestion that once he had that information, he'd then decide whether Hannah Payne would be taking the stand herself. I mean, it was clear from the start, this wasn't strategy, it was just stalling. Meanwhile, Payne leaned into the whole poor me performance, sobbing through the proceedings like she was the one who'd been wronged. But let's be honest, she wasn't crying when she pulled that trigger. Every tear during that trial was for herself, not for Kenneth Herring, and certainly not for the family he left behind. By this point, the courtroom had had enough. The judge was pressing for a decision, and the tension was thick. Everyone, the jury, the prosecution, even the gallery, was tired of waiting, tired of excuses, and ready to move forward. That's when Tucker made his next move. Whether it was a genuine legal strategy or just another delay tactic, he filed a motion for a directed verdict, asking the judge to throw out all the charges in one foul sweep. Now, for those unfamiliar, a directed verdict is basically a legal Hail Mary. It's when the defense argues that the prosecution hasn't presented enough evidence for any reasonable jury to convict, and asks the judge to end the trial right there, before it even reaches deliberation. No jury, no verdict, just a clean dismissal. I mean, it's rare and it's bold, because it puts everything on the line, and essentially tells the judge they've got nothing. But Judge Scott didn't flinch. She reviewed the motion, considered the evidence, and just denied it there and then. No hesitation, no sympathy, just a clean, decisive ruling.
Attorney Tucker, but I think that any motion you're going to make, you would probably just make now and then we'll take a break. Yes. Because I don't expect that your motion will be extended.
Yes, sir. You join me in the motion?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I would make a motion for directed verdict based on the facts that have been presented here, based on the evidence that we've heard so far. I would, and I'll go through each charge one at a time and then that's a good report.
Okay.
At this time, Your Honor, I would make a motion for directed verdict that the state has not carried the heavy burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense malice murder, as they've stated in their allegation that Hannah Payne did on May 7, 2019, with malice aforethought, caused the death of Kenneth Herring, a human being, by shooting him with a firearm. The evidence we've heard are contradicting testimony of what's going on. We've heard one witness say that she came out and held him at gunpoint. We had one witness come out, say she jumped in the window. We had one witness come out and say the accident happened somewhere else besides where the other two. They said that disputed testimony. Some say the gun was holstered until the car hit her car. Some say she came out with it pulled. In the video, we heard testimony saying that they were fighting over the gun, going back and forth. And then upon the gun going off, immediately she picks up the phone and requests assistance from the police and an ambulance. She's not a nurse, she's not a doctor, but she does the best thing she could. She explains to 911 what happened and requests assistance for him, for Mr. Herring. So in no way or form has anybody come in and proven there was malice of any. There was no malice, no testimony of her saying, you know what, today this guy caused an accident, I'm going to take his life. There's no testimony, there's no evidence that even gives an inclination that that is what was going on. And even though you have people say, oh, she had no remorse or whatnot, she was still on the phone attempting to get an ambulance to come there. She stood and she argued or explained to the bystanders she didn't have her finger on the trigger. This was not anything that had intent. This was a situation where she got grabbed, she was being pulled, and she pulled the gun to defend, and then he grabbed it, and the gun went off. And from her, on the 911s, her statements on the 911s, that he went off based on him grabbing the gun and his finger pulling the trigger. There's no malice that has been established in any form or fashion to constitute or even prove anywhere near a reasonable doubt that she did do malice murder. Therefore, to pull the gun she had to use for self-defense as he was continuously grabbing, pulling, and revving up his car and driving. And in the 911 tape, at one point she starts screaming, you hear the revving of the vehicle, which confirmed that the revving of the vehicle was to drive off or to hit, or I'm not sure what his intentions were, but from a reasonable person's view who comes out with a phone to say, here, I have the police on the phone, it's not reasonable for somebody to rev up the engine or grab her or try to ram her or her vehicle. She stated in the 911 call, he just hit my car. And luckily it was his car, her car, and not her. But based on the video and the testimony from Mr. Williams, who had the video, who the video kind of corroborated exactly what he said, that the gun was never pulled until after the struggle was ensuing. And that the individual other accounts were that the vehicle had stopped and not hit her vehicle, but then did accelerate and hit her vehicle. And no one was able to give an account of the position of her, whether she was on the side of the car, whether she was on front of the car. We did hear somebody say it was like an inch, but anybody who would say it was like an inch would have said the car's hit. So I'm not sure how we can use the weight of that testimony because it doesn't appear to be possible or logical. 4, where they said the felony murder with the underlying felony being false imprisonment. The state has put testimony up there that said the car was going, she pulled in, you saw the angle. 2 of them said that it stopped in front of him, that he had space. One says like an inch, one says not sure how much the space is, one didn't really have an angle to see it. But they all confirm that there was not a collision, that the car was there. And as we saw from the pictures that were tendered, there was plenty of room to move or to go to one side or the other. The guy that was filming it was driving right there beside it. Should Mr. Herring have wanted to move or not participate in what was going on, he could have easily driven out, backed up, after hitting the car, backed up and drove off. And once again, the presumption is that he had the ability to do that, and it was not that the car stopped him from doing that, that his truck was leaking radiator fluid, that the truck was badly damaged. And you heard the testimony from the state officer saying this car ain't going far. It's smoking and it's leaking fluid. That engine's going to stop soon enough. We haven't heard any testimony from the state to say that the vehicle was operational, that after the event when they came to get the vehicle, that it was able to drive. So him being in that position was at his own actions. He drove forward and hit the vehicle. Now, could he have driven off? From the testimony, from the views and the pictures, it appears so. But if the vehicle was not properly running at that time based on the damage, based on the loss of radiator fluid, based on a lot of factors, that is why he was there. Not because of a car pulling in front of him. Therefore, based on all the evidence we've heard so far, the testimonies and the lack of testimony to explain, the state has not carried their burden beyond a reasonable doubt to prove any of these 8 cases. and I respectfully request this court to grant my directed verdict motion. Thank you.
The state's response.
Judge, as you're aware, the standard is whether or not there is sufficient evidence for a jury to decide the case and the charges, and you have to view the light and the evidence in the light most favorable to the state. As it relates to malice and malice murder, as the jury charges that we have provided and that defense has provided, malice is not ill will or hatred. It is basically the intent to kill, and it can be formed in a moment. And I think that the evidence that has been provided regarding this defendant's demeanor and her conduct, including her own words on the 911 call, where she is cursing, screaming, telling the victim, "I will shoot you," which is basically her stating her specific intent to kill. And all of the witnesses who indicated that she was striking the victim. And then her own statement, basically, when she tells us all why she killed him, because he hit her car. And so the state has provided sufficient evidence for the jury to consider malice murder in this particular case based on all of the facts and circumstances that have been provided. As it relates to the false imprisonment, the only thing that is required for the state to prove is that the defendant, as noted in the indictment, detained the victim without lawful authority. There is absolutely no evidence that she had any lawful authority to do any of this. And all of the witnesses described that the victim was cornered, that she trapped him, that she maneuvered to block him. The fact that he could have tried to figure out a way to back around all the cars and drive on the sidewalk does not create does not negate the fact that he was detained by this defendant.
So the court, having heard arguments from defense counsel as well as from the state, has determined that there is sufficient evidence for the case to be released to the jury and for them to deliberate and decide the case. The jury can view the evidence in the light most favorable to the state, and so the case will be released to the jury on all the counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Your Honor, if you can clarify, you just said the evidence would be released to the jury and most favorable to the state. Is that your decision, or?
My decision is to deny the motion for a directed verdict, and because the court has determined that there's sufficient evidence for the case to be released to the jury to be deliberated upon and for them to decide the case on all the counts 1 through 8.
But there still is a presumption of innocence that goes with my client when it's released to the jurors, correct?
I have said nothing that would indicate anything different. Attorney Tucker.
I thought I'd heard that.
Okay. All right.
So the trial was moving forward, and everyone was ready to just close this chapter. Everyone except Kenneth, of course, who never got the chance. So Payne finally agreed to take the stand. I mean, let's be honest, she had no choice. The defense was totally on the back foot, and Tucker, he knew it. Not only did he know it, but so did Judge Scott. Tucker had been playing his usual games, thinking the jury and everybody else was buying it. But the judge, she saw straight through him. Every time he opened his mouth, she shut him down. I don't think he had one single objection sustained, not one. So Judge Scott overruled him like clockwork. No patience, no sympathy, just razor-sharp control over her courtroom. So Payne takes the stand, and the strategy was clear. Present as a calm, sweet, soft-spoken, innocent young woman who got caught in a bad situation whilst trying to help. I mean, that was the whole defence. Tucker had built his case around this image of Payne as some lovely, well-meaning girl who just made a tragic mistake. So her demeanour, it had to match the lie. But here's the problem. We've all heard the real Hannah Payne. Her voice on those 911 calls, screaming, threatening, demanding, barking orders like she was in charge of the scene. I mean, that wasn't a scared girl. That was someone trying to dominate the moment. And now, in court, she's sitting there like she's in a different case entirely. Her and Tucker seem to be in their own world, rewriting reality in real time. I mean, it was crucial that she came across likable, relatable, human. But in my opinion, she couldn't have botched that any harder if she tried. I mean, what we got wasn't innocence, it was disconnect. And the jury, they felt it.
They're collecting rent, sometimes walking vacant and or abandoned apartments that could potentially be under construction. And I would show vacant apartments to potential renters.
Okay. So at times you were carrying basically tills for your company of large amount of money?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And you testified that on some occasions or more occasions you have to show empty properties or empty locations to people that you don't know or that you're told to by your company?
Correct. Okay. Whether it be vacant apartments or vendors, either or.
And how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's a part of my job. In the beginning, we had smaller properties where I was the only person who was going from property to property. There were occasions that were unsettling, but it was still a part of my job. And the longer that I was with the company, the larger we got, the more properties we received, and the more, I guess, it put me more out alone by myself, without additional site staff, without anybody with me.
And they would know that you were going to these sites, correct?
Correct. Not exactly which ones. I would be kind of all over the place, depending on which ones I was going to.
And because you were going to all these different places to meet people you don't know, did you do anything for your safety?
I did.
And what was that?
I registered for a concealed carry permit, and when I received it, I purchased a firearm.
So even from the starting blocks, Payne came in with a range of lies, and not even the kind that helped her. I mean, just unnecessary, sloppy fabrications. And let's be clear, she couldn't even look the jury in the eye. I mean, that alone said everything. She knew what she was doing, and she knew what she was hiding. I mean, first she claimed the traffic was steady. Steady on a day that was later described as one of the worst traffic days in that area's history. I mean, that wasn't a mistake, that was a deliberate rewrite. Then she said Terry told her he was a state officer, implying he was a real cop. But that was just false. He never said that. He was a correctional officer, and Payne knew that calling him a police officer would bolster her story. So she just threw it in, just like that. And it didn't stop there. I mean, she claimed Terry told her that Kenneth was inebriated. I mean, that word matters, because inebriated implies drunk. But that's not what Terry said. He said Kenneth was impaired. And that's a very different thing. I mean, that subtle shift from impaired to inebriated wasn't just a slip. It was strategic. It set the tone for everything that followed. A narrative built on exaggeration, distortion, and convenient memory gaps. And the fact she thought she could get away with it, that tells you everything you need to know about how this testimony was going to unfold.
And do you recall May 7th of 2019.
I do.
Prior to that day, have you ever had to draw your weapon or find yourself in a position where you would need to?
No.
Okay. So on this May 7th, of course, you've been hearing these stories. Could you tell us what happened on that day?
I can. I was on my way home from work, and I was coming up to an intersection where the light had just turned green. As I was getting ready to turn left, there was a semi that was turning right. Someone ran the red light, and I watched him run right into the tractor trailer.
Okay.
I pulled off to the side, and I got on the phone with 911 to give an account of what I had noticed. I had assumed that the truck driver or someone else that was involved had already called, and they hadn't.
And if I could stop you right there. You said that you pulled off to the side. Whereabouts?
I pulled up onto the curb,
Okay.
right through the intersection.
And why did you do that?
I wanted to get out of the lane of travel.
Okay, so there was heavy traffic that day?
It was pretty steady.
Okay. And is that where you called the 911?
It is, yes.
Okay, and then what did you do?
After I got on the phone with 911, I was kind of explaining everything that I saw, and I started to walk over to the truck driver because I noticed that there was someone else who had witnessed it, who pulled off to the side.
All right, go ahead.
So I walked over to the truck driver, and we kind of just were conversing, asking, I don't even know what happened, and he just was confirming that we did have a green light.
What else happened?
After that, we were kind of just standing there waiting for the police to arrive, and the other gentleman who had witnessed it walked over to us, and he introduced himself and said that he was a state officer, and he flashed his badge and said that he had checked on the other gentleman and that was asking us, are we okay? Is everybody all right? And actually told me that he had saw where he ran the red light and confirmed it to Mr. Kimball as well.
Okay. Now, Clara, he came and identified himself as a state officer?
Correct.
Okay. And you've heard a couple of times it being called a correctional officer or another name. Are you sure he identified himself as a state officer to you and to Mr. Kimball?
Correct. He told me that he was a state officer. I didn't find out that it was a correctional officer until months later when I found out from you.
But he did show a badge?
He did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, he didn't pull it off. He just lifted his shirt and we saw the badge, and then he continued.
And how was he speaking to you, or how was his demeanor to you and Mr. Kimball?
He was trying to make sure everyone was okay, making sure that we kind of stayed over here and that anything that, we could remember that happened, we were kind of going over it with him. But he seemed to be comfortable with the situation and making sure that all of us felt comfortable, I guess is the best way to explain it.
And what else did he state while you were sitting there waiting on the police to arrive?
Well, me and the truck driver were curious because we didn't know what had just happened. It seemed obvious that he ran the red light, so we were asking him if he was okay and if there was something going on, and he said he's okay, but he said he's definitely inebriated.
Are you sure that's the word he used?
I'm positive, because it prompted both me and the truck driver to reply simultaneously saying, do you mean he's drunk?
So they gradually moved on to the incident itself. And honestly, it was frustrating to listen to. I mean, the evidence laid out what happened with brutal clarity. But the way Payne told it, you'd think we were talking about a completely different events. I mean, her testimony was riddled with contradictions. I mean, blatant ones. She'd clearly studied those 911 calls, picked out the bits that helped her, ignored the ones that didn't, claimed she didn't hear key moments that shattered her narrative, and when she did acknowledge certain lines, she twisted the meaning so far out of shape it barely resembled reality. I mean, it was calculated. She knew what she was doing. Selective memory, strategic denial, and a whole lot of wordplay designed to make her look like the victim. But anyone who'd actually listened to those calls, I mean, the shouting, the threats, the demands, knew exactly who she was in that moment. And it wasn't the sweet, soft-spoken helper Tucker was trying to sell. I mean, the whole thing felt like an insult to everyone's intelligence. Like she genuinely believed the jury would be foolish enough to buy it. But the courtroom wasn't buying, and neither were we.
I was just basically explaining to them what it looked like was about to take place, assuming and hoping that they would say, okay, well, we actually have an officer. He's literally right there. Given the time frame, I would have assumed that someone would have been there by then. I'm explaining to them what I thought that we had learned was that the driver who had caused the original accident was potentially drunk.
And that came from what the state officer said?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And as I'm explaining it to her, I notice that's when he completely gets in his truck. He starts trying to turn it on, and you can hear him like revving it to get it to turn on, which I think that all of us were shocked that it even turned on to begin with. And that's when he started to drive away. And at that time, the truck driver and the state officer was still standing over in the street, and he started waving me over, like calling me towards him.
Okay. And when you got up close to him, what happened?
I asked him, did he go straight? And he said yes. And he's telling me, he said, go.
So at that time, you were under the impression that he's a state officer sending you to get the tag, and 911 knows that you're on the way to get the tag.
Correct.
All right.
And he was, when I was in my vehicle, when he was waving me over, his motions were, it was almost like he was waving me on. So when he brought me up, when I got up to him is when he told me to go.
Okay. And he said go, or did he say something else, or?
No, he just said, good, go, go.
Okay. All right, so then now you're going in the direction they pointed you, and you're on the phone with 911. Was 911 saying anything?
No, she was not.
All right.
There was kind of silence from the time that she had initially asked me if I had got the tag. I was still kind of getting my bearings, and I just started repeating to her, telling her, okay, he's going down Clark Howell on Forest Parkway.
So you never heard them give a warning of not to chase, or?
No.
And having heard the tape, did you feel that you were talking over it, or you just didn't hear it, or?
No, I was explaining to her as we were going down the road. I'm explaining to her what's happening, and from how I remembered it, she asked me again, so were you able to get it? And I explained to her, not yet, but I am about to. And that's when she told me that she just wanted me to be safe. I told her that I understood, and that I wasn't chasing. I was just going to follow, just stay behind him, to stay with him until the police officer could get to us. So I was able to kind of accurately, basically just keep them in the loop, since they obviously weren't there yet.
As you're getting up close to get the tag, what happens then?
As I'm getting closer, I explained to her that I had the tag, and she basically tells me that this is the way that I interpreted it, was that she wanted both of us to go back to the original accident site because police should be there by now.
All right, did she say something before that about you just returning, or The only thing you heard was that both of y'all needed to be...
Correct. She just told me she wanted me to be safe. I told her I felt like I was safe. And that's when I told her that I was going to stay with him until an officer could get to us. And she said that that's what she wanted me to do. At that point is when we had both come up to the intersection and I saw him stopped in the turning lane. So I turned as well, and when I stopped, I was under the impression, with me having 911 on the phone, that I could just be kind of like a messenger. So I took my phone on speaker and I took it to him to show him that I had the police on the phone, and I'm telling him they want us to go back to the original accident site.
Now, you mentioned that he was in turn lane and was stopped, correct?
Correct.
Did you cause him to stop?
I did not. But as I got closer, I heard him asking me, "Who the F are you?" And I told him that I was nobody, but that I had the police on the phone. And that they wanted us to go back to the original accident site.
And what happened then?
Apparently I was close enough for him to reach out the car, and he knocked my phone out of my hand and he grabbed me by my wrist and he pulled me into the vehicle. And originally he had just grabbed my wrist, and he had pulled me in the car, and at some point my shirt had gotten grabbed. Okay. And he...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
He was pulling my wrist and he pulled me in the vehicle, and he kept yelling at me, telling me, "I have something for you." And he used, I have something for you, bitch. And he's leaning and he's reaching and he's pulling. And at this point, I remember that I'm sorry.
Take your time.
I remember that he had let go of my wrist and he grabbed me by the back of my neck. And it was as if he was trying to kind of keep a hold of me. The entire time I'm telling him, I'm thinking, I still have to be on the phone with the police. They have to know. I'm telling him to let me go. And that's when he hits the gas and we go forward. I'm still in the car at this point, and while it only may have been a few steps or a few feet, when you are being held against your will and you have no idea what's ahead of you and you're looking down, it felt like it lasted forever. And I just remember it was like I saw my life flash before my eyes, and I thought I was going to go down Riverdale Road, hanging out the side of this car.
And then they moved on to the interrogation. And once again, it was all lies. I mean, we've seen the footage. We've heard what she said. But listening to her describe it on the stand, it was like she thought we hadn't. Like we were just going to forget everything we already knew. She acted like even talking about the interrogation was traumatic. Like she was the one who'd been wronged. I mean, she choked up, got teary, and started with how long she had to wait in the interview room. I mean, poor her. Just an innocent, confused girl left sitting too long. Meanwhile, Kenneth was fighting for his life, and she wanted sympathy because she had to wait. Then she said the interview started to feel like an interrogation, as if that was some kind of shock. I mean, what did she think was going to happen? She had just killed a man. Of course it was going to be an interrogation. I mean, that's not injustice, that's procedure. And she wasn't done. Still, on the verge of tears, she made a big deal about breaking 2 nails during the struggle. Like that was the real tragedy here. Like that was the trauma we should be focusing on. Meanwhile, Kenneth was already dead. And she wanted sympathy for a couple of broken nails? Then came the injuries. I mean, Tucker asked her about them, and they showed the photos. She claimed she had a busted lip, but what we saw was the smallest scratch imaginable. I mean, it was barely visible. She said she had a black eye, but there was no black eye, just more exaggeration, more performance. And when you compare that to Kenneth's injuries, the reality of what he went through, it's not just insulting, I mean, it's enraging. Because none of this was an accident. None of it was self-defense. It was all her fault. And now she wants to rewrite the story and cast herself as the victim. Unbelievable.
Was there any other part of your body that had any kind of marks from where he grabbed you?
Yes.
Okay, where were those?
I had marks on the back of my neck and kind of scratches along my arms, bruisings on my wrists, and scratches along my chest.
Okay. Anything in the facial area?
Yes. I had a kind of a black eye, but a bruised eye and a busted upper lip. And other, I guess, like sore spots, like or bruising and redness around the edges of my face.
And all of this occurred while he was dragging you forward towards your vehicle?
Correct.
And you stated that then you said you have a gun?
I did.
And what was your intent at that point?
My intent was that pulling it out, he would let me go, and I'd pull away from the vehicle, and that would be it.
Okay, let me go. Which arm did you pull, or which hand did you pull the gun with?
It was my right hand.
Okay.
After he originally grabbed it and was kind of pulling at it back and forth is when he put his other hand on top and he started trying to actually yank it away from me. And then he started to try to turn it, to pry it almost, like he was trying to pry it out of my hands so that he could take it away. He's pulling at it, and I'm just yelling at him to stop, thinking that if I could just get away, it'll just be over, I guess.
Were you saying anything to him at this time?
To stop?
Were you saying it loudly?
Yeah, over and over again. Yeah, I was screaming it.
Okay, and then what happened?
As he's turning it towards, like that way, I'm being pulled, and I can feel myself like pressing up against the car, like my face is up against the door. And as he's pulling it is when the gun went off.
Okay. And you saw the pictures that showed your hand kind of pulled back. Why would your hand or arm been pulled back like that?
After it went off, my entire body kind of fell backwards. Like I was almost like I was falling over, and I was trying to catch my balance. And my arm was turned so far in that once it went off and I was released, it just kind of sprung back.
So your concern at that point was to try to get dispatch to send the ambulance out?
Correct.
Did you look around to see if anyone were close?
I did. And that's when I noticed that there were actually, there were police that were, to me, felt so close that all of this could have just been avoided. After the police officer had come up, one of the people that was standing there were basically, again, asking what had happened. And she asked me, she said, did you just shoot him? And I told her, I said, no. I said, he pulled me into the vehicle. He had a hold of me, but that I never had my finger on the trigger.
And why is that?
I mean, number one, from training, and number two, I never had any intention on pulling the trigger.
And in fact, you never did pull that trigger, did you?
Correct.
Now, did you get an opportunity to speak to other officers?
Yes, I did.
All right, and who was that?
After I was taken to the police station, they put me in a interview room, and eventually a Detective Hayward came in and introduced himself and said that he was waiting on his partner.
Do you recall who his partner was?
I was Detective Moore.
Okay. And do you recall how that interview went?
I remember feeling like I was waiting for hours. I didn't know what was going on. I hadn't talked to anybody since it happened, other than the police officers. And I just remember like feeling like I was waiting for forever, and I had no sense of time or what was going on.
All right. While you were waiting, did you do anything while you were waiting and sitting there alone?
I remember pacing, and that's when I noticed that my nails were broken. So I started messing with my fingernails. I started like taking them off. One of them I remember was hurting, which is what made me realize it was broken.
Okay. And do you recall any of the conversation between Detective Haywood and Moore in that interview?
Not really. I remember that to me it seemed like they would kind of go back and forth between one being more interested than the other. And they kept asking me the same things over and over again. But every time they would ask me, they would kind of insinuate like a different narrative, which to me, I'm thinking that there's an obvious explanation that everybody that was sitting around would have been able to see what I said happened. So to me, I didn't feel like it was, I guess, logical. So I was just confused.
So to your knowledge, through this whole interview, you didn't know the status?
I never knew. No.
And you were getting questions, as you said, from both sides?
Correct.
How did that make you feel?
In the beginning, when I was telling them what happened, I thought it was more of a kind of like a witness account, like here's what happened. As it got further into it, I could tell to me it kind of started feeling like interrogation. But originally I wasn't thinking that it could have been an interrogation, because I'm just thinking that it was an incident that had a clear explanation as to what happened.
So now it was time for the cross-examination. And if I'm honest, I was a bit disappointed with Nigel. I mean, I get the strategy. She focused on pointing out the inconsistencies, highlighting the parts of Payne's story that directly contradicted the evidence, and letting the facts speak for themselves. But still, it felt like a missed opportunity. I mean, rather than shooting down Payne's answers in real time, Nigel would just ask the question, get the lie, and then move on. There was no follow-up, no confrontation, no moment where Payne was forced to sit in the wreckage of her own contradictions. It was effective in its own quiet way, I mean, the jury heard the gaps, the shifts, the rewrites, but it could have been so much more powerful if Nigel had have hit back with receipts, because she had them. I mean, every lie Payne told had a counterpoint in the evidence. And yet, the punches never landed. But don't worry, this isn't over. Nigel is set to deliver the closing argument, and that's where she'll have the floor, uninterrupted with every tool at her disposal. No objections, no dodging, just her, the jury, and the truth. So let's see what happens there, because if she brings the fire in closing, Payne's performance on the stand might just collapse under its own weight.
And you never told the detectives or the police that Terry Robinson told you he was drunk?
I did, yes.
You told the police?
I told 911 dispatch.
Now let's talk about 911 dispatch. And you stated that he waved you over?
Yes.
And the only thing you heard Terry Robinson say was, go, go, go.
Correct.
That's your testimony today?
Correct.
So he never told you to take a picture of the tag?
Not that I remember, no.
And you also testified today that you never heard the 911 dispatch give you a warning not to chase?
No, I never said that. I said that she told me that she wanted me to be safe. And I said that from what I took it as was that she didn't want me to chase. And when I explained to her I wasn't chasing, I was just simply staying with him until a police officer could get to us.
And the 911 dispatch indicated to you approximately 4 times to either not chase Mr. Herring and go back to the scene, correct?
Incorrect. I only heard it one time, and she told me not to chase, to be safe. She never told me to go back to the scene until after I had told her that I was behind him and that she wanted me to be safe. And in doing so, she said that she wanted both of us to go back.
I'm handing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit 40, which is a copy of the 911 transcript. If you can review that. Dispatcher, okay, so you couldn't get a tag number? Your response, no, but I'm catching up to him right now. And the dispatcher tells you, okay, ma'am, we actually do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe. The first time they tell you not to chase him, correct?
She didn't tell me not to. She just said that they didn't want me to because of my safety. At least is the way that I interpreted it.
Okay, I'll give you that. So they told you that they do not want you to chase him, correct?
Correct.
And what did you say next? You can read it.
I understand.
Okay. And the dispatcher tells you after that, it's not safe to chase him. Second time, correct?
That's what the transcript guy said. When we're listening to it, I don't remember hearing that, but...
And can you read what your response was?
I understand 100%. I'm just going to get the tag number, if nothing else. But I am going west down Forest Parkway, and I'm almost up to him.
So you told the dispatcher that you understood 100%, correct?
That I needed to be safe, correct.
And the dispatcher states after that, okay, after you provide the tag number, which you provide the tag number before you make contact with Mr. Herring, correct?
Correct.
And once she gets the tag number from you, she tells you, okay, so if you could go back to that location where the incident happened because someone is actually on the way to you guys now. Is that correct?
Correct.
So there should be no confusion that she told both of you to go back to that location.
Well, if you keep, it's not confusion, it's just more to the conversation.
But you said your interpretation was that you thought that she was advising you and Mr. Herring to return to the incident location, correct?
Because that's what she says in the next line.
Okay, I'll let you read it. Read the entire response from dispatch.
From what the transcript reads is,
from the beginning, okay.
Female caller or dispatcher?
Dispatcher.
Okay, so if you could go back to that location where the incident happened, because someone is actually on the way to you guys now.
And Terry Robinson and Mr. Kimball were still at that location, correct?
That was 2 out of the 4 people.
Terry
that were
Robinson
involved.
and Mr. Kimball were still at
Correct.
that location, correct? And that's the 3rd time she's telling you to not continue to follow Mr. Herring and go back to the location.
No,
Correct?
that's when she told me to go back to the location the first time. She didn't say anything about not following.
All right. And so what is your response to the dispatch at that time? You can read the next paragraph.
That there's a police officer. Okay, well, there is a police officer there, but he is drunk. I'm sorry, but I'm here to tell you I'm not going to follow him because he's going to cause another accident. So I will stay behind him until an officer can get to us. But until then, I'm not moving.
Right. So you were aware that dispatcher did not want you to continue to follow Mr. Herring, correct?
Sure.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. And the dispatcher tells you after that, you know that's what I want. I want you guys to go back to the location where it happened and an officer will be out there momentarily. So that's a 4th time she's telling you again, don't follow and head back to the incident location, correct?
Incorrect.
Okay, so what am I missing?
She said, which in the transcript it reads differently than what you can hear on the call.
I'm talking about the transcript that's before you, Ms. Payne.
I'm just speaking from facts of what I've known.
I'm asking you to...
If she could allow the witness to finish answering the question instead of interrupting her.
The defendant is...
She could get her question answered if she allowed her to finish hers.
Your response, A.D. Hunter?
The defendant is not responsive to the question. I'm only asking her about the transcript that's in front of her.
So I'm going to overrule the objection, and Ms. Payne, you will answer the question that's been posed.
Okay.
You can explain after you've indicated whether she's correct or not correct.
So can you repeat your question?
The dispatcher, for a 4th time, indicated to you that she wanted you to return to the incident location, correct?
Correct. And not for a 4th time that she wanted me to not follow.
Okay. You testified that you didn't cut Mr. Herring off on Riverdale Road. You saw him stopped in the turning lane. Is that correct? Is that your testimony?
I said I saw him stopped in the turning lane. And I never used the terminology cut him off. Because in my eyes, I was still in my lane of travel.
And do you remember telling the detectives on May 7th, 2019, that you got in your Jeep, you followed Mr. Herring, you told the dispatch that you were following him, and she told you that she didn't advise it. She told you to get his tag number. You got the tag number by the time you got to the end, right when I got to Riverdale Road, correct?
Your Honor, objection. This is a very long question. If she can break it up, maybe the witness could understand it and answer a little bit clearer.
Your response, A.D. Hunter?
And I'm asking her if that's what she said. That's a statement that she would have made to the detectives. I'm asking her, was that a statement that she made to detectives?
Okay, so I'll overrule the objection. It's not a compound question. She's just asking if that's actually what she said, so I'll allow it.
So if you're asking me if I remember word for word what I said 4.5 years ago, I can not say that I do remember exactly what I said.
And do you recall that you told them that you came around that curve and you had an opportunity to get in front of him?
If that's what I said, then I don't remember. Like I said, exactly. It was 4.5 years ago. There was hours worth of interview. So
And do you recall telling the detectives that you got in front of him and I stopped in front of him and I got out?
Okay.
You recall that?
Again, I don't remember word for word what I said.
So it's your testimony today that you did not cause him to stop his vehicle?
Correct.
And do you see how your vehicle is angled toward the red Dodge Dakota?
No, I see his vehicle's angled towards mine.
Okay, I can give you a better view. Now, is your vehicle slightly ahead of Mr. Herring's vehicle?
Slightly ahead, yes.
And is your right passenger tire turned towards the right toward his vehicle?
The tire's turned, but the vehicle is not.
And so in order for you to get in that position, you had to turn your steering wheel to the right towards Mr. Herring's vehicle, correct?
Towards the lane.
And his vehicle is in that lane, correct?
At the time it was further back, so no.
So if it was further back, you had to turn your vehicle in front of his vehicle, correct?
No.
So how did you end up in that position?
In this meaning, like with the cars connected or with me?
With you partially in his lane.
With my front tire partially in his lane, my wheel was turned.
And telling him calmly that you were on the phone with 911?
When you say calmly, do you mean like was I irate or was I louder?
That is your testimony today that you did not get out of your vehicle and run up to Mr. Herring's vehicle telling him to get out of the car.
Correct.
And you never once got out of your vehicle and go up to him and tell him to get out of the fucking car.
Well, everyone heard I did.
Now, is your testimony today that you never had your finger on the trigger?
It is. Hannah is showing the position he is in. And he's pulling, and after he tried to pull the trigger, when he came back around is when I had my hand on the trigger, and he still was squeezing, reaching, pulling, turning. But I'm pretty sure that in prior testimony we were speaking of the trigger guard.
And can you turn to page 41? So your testimony today was all of this could have been avoided, correct?
Correct.
And you're not post-certified?
No, I'm not.
You're not a police officer?
I'm not.
Nobody deputized you on that day to apprehend anyone?
No, they did not.
And you also stated that you never had any intention of pulling the trigger.
Correct.
So when you told Mr. Herring that you would shoot him, you were just bluffing?
Oh, I wasn't bluffing. I was, as I explained, thinking it was a deterrent, like I would be able to get away.
And you said you had training with this firearm?
Yes.
And in that training, you didn't learn that you don't pull a gun unless you're going to use it?
I learned that you don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're going to use it.
And it was your testimony today in that interview that your finger was on the trigger, correct?
My finger was in the trigger, on the trigger guard, not in the trigger.
All right, nothing further.
Thank you, Evie. Any redirect?
Yes, ma'am.
Attorney Taylor.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, now state kept saying that they said don't chase. But you recall them saying be safe and come back to a location, correct?
From my recollection, I remember them telling me not to chase. I told them I wasn't chasing. I was just following behind. She wanted me to be safe, and I told her that I understood that. I had no reason to think that I wouldn't be safe.
Okay. State asked you a specific question, and I think you read the transcripts of you never had your finger on the trigger. But isn't it true that the portion you read said your hand was on the trigger?
That's the way that I interpreted it, which is why I tried to explain about the previous statements.
Is your hand different than your finger?
It's a part of.
Okay, but it's different when you're holding a gun to have a hand versus a finger on a trigger, correct?
Correct.
And you mentioned that they were going back and forth, Detective Moore and Detective Haywood, correct?
Correct.
And was it kind of a good cop, bad cop situation?
In hindsight, yes.
Okay. And did it appear they were looking for a certain answer, or they were changing the words to get that answer?
That's how I explained it. That's how I felt.
So was that when he grabbed your wrist?
Yes.
So the gun would have been pointing kind of upward or downward, not at him when he grabbed your wrist, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when he grabbed your wrist, he tried to pull the gun into...
I'm catching Your Honor, leaving.
It's cross, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I thought in cross you can ask leading questions or ask questions about what they
You're
asked.
redirect. At this point, you're not cross-examining, you're redirecting. So I will sustain the objection as to leading question.
You told the detectives, as well as the 911, as well as the people around there, that you never had your finger on the trigger?
Correct.
And if anything, your hand was on the trigger guard?
No, but that's where your hands rest, is alongside. Yes.
Thank you. No further questions?
Thank you, Attorney General. Anything further from the state? Very briefly,
You talked about the fact that it could have been avoided had you not attempted to, I guess, assist or help. But this actually could have been avoided if you not had introduced a gun into this incident, correct?
I introduced the gun to try and save my life.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
And just briefly, she asked the question to interject yourself.
objection. What is the objection? He's already directed the witness, Your Honor. He already redirected the witness.
And you're saying I can't come back and redirect again once you've done another question, round of question?
I'm going to sustain the objection. Attorney Tucker. Have you concluded with this witness, Attorney Tucker?
Obviously, yes, I am. I've been to the witness.
Okay. You may step down.
So the defence had rested. Payne had gone through her direct, cross, redirect, the whole cycle. And at the start, it sounded like they had something. Witnesses, exhibits, a defendant who could finally tell the truth. But that illusion didn't last long. What looked like a defence turned out to be smoke and mirrors. And now, with the trial heading into the final straight, the state had momentum. Nigel stepped up for the closing arguments, and after a cross-examination that felt restrained, she came back swinging. No interruptions, no objections, just her voice, her fire, and the truth. I mean, it was a masterclass. Emotion, precision, attitude, and clarity. She laid it all out. Clean, devastating, and impossible to ignore. I mean, she walked the jury through every charge, dismantling Payne's story piece by piece. The self-defense claim, gone. The sweet girl caught in chaos narrative, obliterated. Nigel didn't just argue, she proved. And for the first time, everything we'd heard finally clicked into place. It made sense. It was undeniable.
The state will now give its closing argument.
I mean, not that it has anything to do with it, but my entire life until I was 18 and my grandfather passed away, I was going to be a police officer. And on May 7, 2019, she got her opportunity. And as a result, 62-year-old Kenneth Herring, who was unarmed and minding his own business, was chased down, detained, shot, and murdered by this defendant. And how do we know she shot him? Because we watched Officer Ritchie's body cam. And when he asked, who shot Mr. Herring? She said, I did. And you don't get the death penalty for committing a traffic infraction. And you know how much entitlement you have to chase somebody down, detain them, jump out your car, and run toward a stranger. He didn't know her. He didn't know why she was approaching his car, and demand that they do anything. He didn't have to listen to her. He didn't have to do anything she said. As he continued to ask her, who are you? And the audacity to come here and take that stand and blame everybody else. Now, before I jump into all the facts and all the evidence that you heard today, I want to talk a little bit about what your duties are. You're to be a fair and impartial juror, honestly seeking the truth. And the purpose of the jury trial system is to seek the truth. Not to seek doubt, it's to seek the truth. You have a duty to follow the law, and you are bound by the instructions and the law given to you by the judge. On May 7, 2019, you heard testimony from Terry Robinson. There was an initial accident that occurred on Clark Howell. You heard testimony that that accident did not involve this defendant. She had made no contact with the defendant. There was no argument with her and the defendant. Her vehicle was not struck. That accident had nothing to do with her. She didn't get close enough, she stated, to smell any alcohol or the odor of alcohol in his breath. She just interjected herself in a situation that had nothing to do with her. Now, what she wants you to believe is that when Terry Robinson was speaking in the background and he said, go, 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 that meant for her to jump in her car, chase down Mr. Herring, block his car off, apprehend him, and detain him. And we know that's simply not true. Because what you hear on the 911 call with Mr. Robinson, the only thing he says, and the only thing he said was, take a picture of the tag. Now, if we are to believe that take a picture of the tag means this, and you also heard from Terry Robinson that the defendant was already in her vehicle. She was already in motion. She was already prepared to do what she felt she was supposed to do in this situation. And then you hear the 911 call. And you hear the 911 operator tell her, once they realize she's chasing Mr. Herring, ma'am, we advise that you do not chase or follow. And she said she understood 100%. But yet she still continued. And you heard testimony from Ashley Jackson that she was speeding down Forest Parkway so fast, weaving in and out of traffic. I mean, she is chasing Mr. Herring, almost causing accidents, almost running other people off the road. And you heard the defendant say, and when I finally caught up to him, I had an opportunity. Because in her mind, she was going to stop that vehicle by any means necessary. And she did. And it's unfortunate for Mr. Herring. And you also heard testimony of the rage she had, how angry she was, how aggressive she was. But when she stood on the stand, when she got on the stand yesterday, everything was so calm. And when her attorney is asking her questions, she has every answer detailed, laid out, how she was just a people person. She was just trying to do things to help. She wanted to help all the other drivers on the road. And when I was asking her questions, she became very combative and aggressive. And it was always my perspective, what I thought. No, the 911 officer, our dispatcher did not tell me to not follow, not chase. Because she knows best. And at the end of that 911 call, after she shot Mr. Herring, her whole attitude, I'm safe, but he ain't. But she wants you to believe that she was concerned and she wanted an ambulance and she wanted to assist and she wanted to help and make sure he was okay. She didn't care about Mr. Herring. The defendant had multiple opportunities to do something else. To go back to the incident location. To go back home. Not pursue. This had nothing to do with her. And the idea that she could command somebody to do anything. The only person that introduced a deadly weapon in this situation was the defendant. And but for her introducing that firearm, Mr. Herring would still be here today. You can't poke a bear and then when the bear turns around and attack you, want to claim self-defense. It doesn't work that way. She should have minded her own business. Now, this is the real reason we're here today. Now, the law doesn't allow us to talk about Mr. Herring's background and history and go into details about that. But there is no reason, absolutely no reason Mr. Herring shouldn't still be alive today. Preparing to spend the holidays with his family and friends. There's absolutely no reason. And but for the defendant's actions on May 7, 2019, he would be. You saw and heard the evidence. And all of the evidence points to one conclusion, that the defendant is guilty. Now, you won't be able to take back the videos and the audios of the 911 calls as you deliberate, but if you want to be able to listen to those again, to see them, just let the bailiff know, and we'll let you do that. But this isn't a complex case. The defendant had no right to do what she did. None. And so I'm going to ask that as you deliberate, that you find her guilty on each and every count in the indictment.
Then it was Tucker's turn. A full hour of recycled excuses. I mean, he dragged the jury through the same tired lines, the same emotional manipulation, and the same fantasy version of events. This was his last shot to flip the script. But the evidence was too strong, the contradictions too loud, and the courtroom, they just wanted him to stop talking. But he didn't. He kept going, like he knew that once he sat down, the jury would be left with nothing but the truth. And that truth would bury him and his clients. Then finally, he sat down. The courtroom exhaled, and the jury was asked to deliberate.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks, finally get here. And as I stated as we began, that the judge would instruct you on the law, the judge would instruct you on the roles, and the judge would give you guidance to take all that you've heard, all that you've seen, all that you've been through this last week and a half. And I told you that I would try to get as much evidence out so you could see the full picture. Because as I said, when we're dealing with the verdict, you must honestly be seeking the truth, wanting to hear more, wanting to see more, wanting to see the full picture of what happened, to hear what really happened, why this occurred, how this occurred, and why not. So we started off fully understanding that the state has the heaviest burden in the world to prove all this evidence of what they have put in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt. You probably heard things like probable cause, which is a very low threshold. Preponderance of the evidence of one has 51%. They win. And then reasonable doubt being the highest standard out there. Jumped right into Mr. Robinson, Terry Robinson, that state official. And he says he gets in his vehicle and starts driving off. It's just an individual who's a state official, who we find out later is a correctional officer, but who gives his account of what occurred. And when talking with him at the stand, what he had said at the incident location and what he had said the day it happened, it was a little bit different. So that's how it all begins. And in the meantime, he's on the phone with 911. Miss Payne's on the phone with 911. And they're talking to them both. And the one thing both of them wanted, and the one thing 911 wanted, was that tag information, the tag number. Somebody's leaving the scene and you got an officer telling you not to. It's not the smartest thing. But when you have good intention in your heart and you're trying to help somebody, and you don't think that she's never been in an environment or a situation to ever think somebody's going to grab her and say, I got something for you, bitch. She would never contemplate that. So she gets behind and tells 911, hey, I didn't get it, but I'm going to go get it. And you meet Mr. Robbins. Good, go. But it was a little bit different, a little bit more biased. And maybe media played a part, maybe memory played a part. But you can decide that yourself. You heard his testimony. You see from an individual on the stand, y'all know if they're telling the truth or not. Y'all know if somebody is not being as truthful as they can or trying to hide something. So she comes in here and gives an explanation of the 911, and we hear it. And you hear exactly what we were hoping you to hear. That very calm voice of Miss Payne. Ma'am, there's been an accident. I don't know if I'm supposed to call you. I don't know if somebody else has called you, but I just want to let you know there's an accident, and this is the location. Mr. Herring decides he's going to go. He's going to leave. And she said, ma'am, I'm safe. I'm in my car. I'm just going to follow him and get that tag number for you. And you did hear her say, Man, I mean, you know, we don't want you to chase. We just want you to be safe. The second time it was said, they're talking at the same time. So how one heard the other, I'm not sure, but they were talking at the same time. So she's following this car, not knowing, not understanding what could happen, because she's never been in it. She's 21 years old, never been in a situation like that. In her mind, she's a young individual trying to help out. She hasn't seen the bad sides. Heard the old phrase, no good deed goes unpunished. So she's trying to assist, and in doing so, she's hanging back enough to get the tag number. And then she says, you need to come back to the location. And you need to stop. She goes, man, I'm not gonna follow me. He's already caused one accident. We're the police. I'll just hang back here till the police gets. And take what you've heard and take what you listened to and saw. And you can decide that for yourself. And that's what I wanted. I wanted all the evidence out here so y'all could decide. So after something comes up there with the 911, then they bring McCraney in. And she sits down. She's got a good story she's telling it. She's wound up. She's talking about, yeah, I saw it. It was crazy. She jumped in the window. Now, literally, we don't know. There's no way she could have jumped in the window. But you try to extract from what they say. As we said, every time there's a story, there's a little bit of truth in it. A little bit of truth. So maybe the part that she was in the window is when she's being pulled in the window. Maybe the part that she jumps when she's pulling back and getting pulled in. We don't know. But you heard the testimony the same I did. And you'll get to decide. The witness, Miss Rosser. And Miss Rosser got up and she started talking about what she perceived happened. Where she said she was right there, kind of side to side, looking at it. I think she said 10 yards. 10 yards. I don't know. I usually like to hear feet, but everybody has their preference. 10 yards from it. And she saw her gun out, holding him at gunpoint. And blow. She didn't see it. She heard it. But notice. Blow. So did it happen in the car? Did it happen out of the car? Yeah, I talked to me. Yes, I talked to the detectives. And yes, I talked to Bonnie. And they're here giving testimony that's different from what they initially gave. And you, as the decider of fact, has got to decipher from the story that you heard from the first account, the story you heard from the second account. My opinion is, when you go back and you talk about what you heard, they're not going to mesh up. And then we have Cameron Williams. Cameron Williams. Nice guy, seemed personable. He gets up here and he talks about how, hey man, I videotaped it. And I'm watching it, and I see a struggle. And as they're struggling, all of a sudden I hear a big, and it's a gunshot. And this gunshot goes off. And then he gets up, and he goes with the investigators to refresh his memory on the video. Because there's an interview with him that it's been a while. Then he goes off to refresh his memory. He comes back and pretty much says what he sees on the video, and you've seen it. I know a lot of people say, I've got to see it to believe it. I don't want to hear it, I want to see it. So you see it on the video. You take all of these evidence, and that's the evidence. And then Miss Payne says, you know what, I want them to hear what happened. And I want them to hear it from my mindset, because everything you heard, it just didn't sound, it didn't sound, it wasn't meshing together. It wasn't, some of it wasn't possible. Some of it wasn't logical. Some was just common. But I don't want to take it away from them, but try to be vigilant because everyone can perceive something totally different than what really happened. We talked about that at the beginning. You can see the same thing happen, two people have two opinions of it. And grab, and then all of a sudden, you see her shirt. And you saw in the pictures, and you'll see in the pictures when you go back there, her shirt is being pulled in. And her testimony is, I didn't pull the gun in. I don't know what people say. She walked up with the gun on her. Now, a couple of them said it wasn't until the car hit her Jeep that the gun was pulled out. But she said, I didn't pull the gun out then. I'm sitting here trying to get away. I'm trying to move back. He caught me by surprise. Never been in a situation like that. It's up to God she'll never be in a situation like that again. Because no good deed goes unpunished. And she knows that now. But before then, she's a people person. She's trying to help somebody out. We're going to help them out in Clayton County, the place she grew up in. And she says, when I pulled it out, I thought it'd be a deterrent. I told her, hey buddy, I got a gun. You let go of me, let go of me, let go of me. Stop, get the fuck out of this car. You can't drive this car anymore because it's going to blow up, it's smoking. And if you're out of that car, you can't cause any more problems. You can't hurt anybody. You can't cause another accident. How'd that work out for her? She's being dragged into that vehicle. She's being dragged down the road, whether it be like an inch, or whether it be the size of this table, or what. When you're grabbed, if you're pulled into a hole and you don't know what the world's going on because he's going, I got something for you. I got something for you. And he's leaning back. She's on her tippy toes. And you got dirt on her knees where she's pulling back, trying to get away. And you see a still shot that the state entered that has her pulled back like this. But you can use common sense, and you can use, after hearing what happened, what would cause a hand to come back that quick? If it's being held and you finally get it away. As you go back there, look at all the evidence. I feel comfortable you've seen enough. You've got enough information, enough understanding, enough experience to see really what happened. And the audacity of the state to say that you're going to find her guilty from the information they gave, I think different. I greatly appreciate your time. And I know it was a lot of time in the week, and I know y'all didn't expect that. But I appreciate it because I've seen you be attentive, I've seen you be listening, and I've seen those eyes wanting to seek the truth. And I hope you've sought enough truth so that you understand it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen, and even with the theory they have, there's still three other plausible theories of what happened. And it comes down to they just didn't present a case. It's beyond a reasonable doubt to convince you that Miss Payne is a murderer. Somebody just called you because she didn't like the bad driving. He's a bad driver. You heard the one girl up there, boy. She said she didn't raise a bitch. She would not change her mind. But not Miss Payne. You never once heard her say, ooh, this guy's crazy. I think he's inebriated, but that's it. So I leave it to you, and I implore you to go back, look at the evidence, and do the right thing. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your attentiveness. And I appreciate when you come back and find her not guilty of all 8 of these charges, these heinous charges they put against her. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Attorney Tucker.
So after a 5-day trial, the 12-person jury deliberated on a Tuesday. And it didn't take long, less than 2 hours. That speed speaks volumes. I mean, the evidence was overwhelming. The contradictions too loud, and the defence's narrative too weak to hold up. I mean, the jury didn't need to debate. They just needed to connect the dots. Payne's story collapsed under scrutiny, and the facts spoke for themselves. But yet Payne looked shocked, like she genuinely thought she had a chance. I mean, God knows why. Probably Tucker feeding her false hope, something he'd been doing since day one, selling her a fantasy, convincing her the jury might actually buy the story they'd stitched together. But reality hit hard. Tucker had one last move. He asked to poll the jury. I mean, I won't play it. It's just a formality. Each juror confirms one by one that the decision was theirs, made freely and voluntarily. I mean, I've never seen it change anything. It's the legal version of grasping at straws. Defense attorneys always try it when they've got nothing left, knowing full well it won't do a thing. And with that, the jury was finally released, free from Tucker's voice, Payne's performance, and the circus that had dragged on for 4 years. That's 4 years she spent walking free, when she should have been behind bars. The sentencing date was set, and Payne was remanded into custody, where she belongs.
Okay, the court has been informed that the jury has arrived at a verdict, and so I'm going to bring them in at this time. Bailiff Innes, please. Versus Hannah Renee Payne, case number 2019 CR 01737. Court has been informed that you have reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Okay, and are you the foreperson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you kindly stand. Was your verdict unanimous?
Yes, ma'am.
Has the verdict form been filled in, signed, and dated by you?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would have the bailiff bring the verdict form to me, please. Mr. Foreperson, if you would go ahead and read the verdict.
With regard to count 1 as to the offense of malice murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 2 as to the offense of felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 3 as to the offense of aggravated assault, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 4 as the offense of felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 5 as the offense of false imprisonment, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 6 as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 7 as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 8 as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Respectfully submitted, the 12th day of December, 2023.
Counsels, is there anything further required of this jury before I dismiss them?
If the court should poll the jury.
Okay. I will poll the jury. You may be seated. Ms. Payne, I'm going to remand you into the custody of the Sheriff's Department at this time.
So the sentencing date had arrived. And after years of delays, courtroom performances, and Payne walking free, it was finally time for Kenneth's family to speak. And they did, with clarity and pain. I mean, they asked for life without parole, nothing less.
And Ms. Herring, what is your relationship to Kenneth Herring?
I was his youngest sister.
And what would you like the court to know today regarding sentencing?
I would like the court to know and understand that I no longer have a big brother. He called me Biscuit Head all my life because from a little kid, every time my mom would get up every morning to make fresh biscuits, I would be there. As the baby, I got the first one. And so as I got older, and in my adulthood, he would then just call me Biscuit. I won't get to hear that anymore. We won't get to laugh at him because he couldn't dance, but he tried. And we won't get to reminisce about all the times, having grown up in the South, my mother would make copious amounts of sweet tea, and he would drink it all and leave a corner and put the pitcher back in the refrigerator. We won't get to do that. No more Christmas, no more birthdays, no more family gatherings. His grandchildren won't know him. He has 2 adult children that they don't have a father anymore. And while he was the oldest, and both of my parents are deceased, you would think the oldest would be the head of the family. We don't have that now. So it's just the 5 of us left. There were 6 of us. Now there's the 5 of us that are left. And we won't have those memories any longer. You know, I sit here and I spent a milestone birthday in the courtroom because of my brother's death. And that's something that is now never going to change. I just ask that whatever happens here today, that we get some type of peace out of it.
And do you have any opinion as to what you would like to happen in regards to sentencing?
As I think anyone would want, any family member would want in any situation like this, we would ask for life, because it's just over nothing. His life was taken. He didn't die of natural causes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Herring, what is your relationship to Mr. Kenneth Herring?
I'm his sister. I'm the third sister.
Mm-hmm. And what would you like the court to know today regarding sentencing in this case?
We all call him Ken. He was just the big brother. The big brother that liked to boss us around. He had this nickname that he always called me. It was Duty. Always doing, he said. you can always find me doing something, and that seemed to be a problem with him, by him being the oldest. I can remember one Christmas, he got this BB gun, and he didn't have a target. So he asked me to stand near this tree, and I did, not knowing that I was going to be his target with this BB gun, and I still have that mark on my leg. That would be the only thing that I have left to remember him by, is this little mark on my leg. Ken used to come to the house, to my home, and him being the biggest, being the oldest, he thought that he could not only boss me, but boss my daughters. And they weren't having it. He would always say that no matter what, I'm the oldest, and that I had to abide by his rules. And one of my daughters was in the military, and she came home, and he was there. He just happened to come that Saturday, and she knew how to play cards. I didn't. So he wanted me to be just a bystander, not participate in this card game. But she was going to teach me how to play spade, and he just went off, and it was just like a conversation going back and forth with two adults, which she was my oldest and would have been his niece. So I remember that day, and now that's all we have is memories. I can't call him if I wanted to. I can't visit him if I wanted to. I can go to the gravesite, but he can't respond. Do I want to go to the gravesite? No, I don't. I would prefer him being here. I would prefer him coming around. I would prefer him calling me with jokes and leaving them on my answering machine like he normally do. But I don't have that anymore.
And what is your opinion as you sit here today regarding sentencing in this case?
As I think about it, knowing that I can't see him again, I would like for her to have the same thing. He got a life sentence that he did not ask for. As I watched her leaving out, and she was crying as she was going through those doors. That's the same way I felt when they closed that casket on him. That door would never open again. I'll never see my brother again, only through pictures. The same sentence that she gave him, I would like to see the same sentence given to her. Where he got a life without parole, I would like for her to have life without parole. He got death without parole. I would like for her to have life without parole.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Herring, what is your relationship to Mr. Kenneth Herring?
I'm his youngest and oldest brother.
And what would you like the court to know today regarding sentencing?
Well, I would like to say on May 7th, 2019, I had no idea that when I called my brother that I would be inundated with phone calls from law enforcement from Clayton County, Georgia. I immediately panicked and feared the worst. I had no intention on answering those calls due to fear. I answered the phone by mistake and told the gentleman what county I lived in. And within 5 minutes, my wife called me and told me there was a deputy at the house to see me. My life from that point has never been the same. The following day, I found myself repeating to my wife, I do not know how I'm going to tell my parents or explain to them how this happened. And they had been deceased for years. Never again will I be able to hear him say, hey you, get off my mountain. At 53 years old today, I know what he was talking about now. But the defendant took him off of his cloud. The defense attorney in this case attempted to paint my brother as a nobody. He was nothing. It was just good intentions gone bad. It's a drug user, could have been a drug dealer, could have been anything but an innocent man. But one thing about this situation that I would like the court and you to know, Judge, that Kenneth Herring, he wasn't heavy. He was my brother. And on we go. Thank you.
And Mr. Herring, what is your opinion today as it relates to sentencing in this case?
At some point in my life, I'm going to need some healing. My opinion as far as judgment in this, I feel that whatever the court gives her, which should be life without parole, she deserves more.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Then came Payne's side. Her family, a neighbour and a friend all stepped up, painting her as a kind, helpful girl who spent her life doing good deeds. I mean, it was surreal, like they were describing someone else entirely, not the Hannah Payne we'd come to know, and not the one who chased a man down, pulled a gun, and ended his life. So Tucker followed with his usual, slow, predictable, and forgettable. But then Bonnie took the floor, and she didn't waste a second. She cut straight through the fantasy Payne supporters had tried to build. So no more sweet girl narrative. Bonnie called her what she was, the real Hannah Payne, and she asked for the maximum.
Her demeanor and who the real Hannah Payne is was heard in that 911 call. When she decided that she was smarter and righter than everyone else. She was told repeatedly, even though she's been, in my opinion, dishonest about it, she was told repeatedly and understood clearly to leave Mr. Herring alone. The real Hannah Payne is the one screaming on that call for him to get out of the car and cursing at him and striking him, as every state's witness who witnessed that incident told you about. The one who introduced a gun into a situation that had nothing to do with her. And then has continued to fail to accept any responsibility for her actions whatsoever by trying to claim that Mr. Herring shot himself, when the evidence is clear that that's not what happened, and honestly not really possible. She has yet to tell a consistent story about what happened. Every time she told the story in her interview, it changed. It was different here. It was different in the back of the patrol car, because she accepts no responsibility for her own actions. The real Hannah Payne is the one cursing, telling him to get the F out of the car. And when she gets back on the phone with 911, explaining that she shot him because he hit her Jeep. He hit her car. The real Hannah Payne is the person who said, I'm safe, but he ain't. That's the malice that the jury heard and what they had no problem finding beyond a reasonable doubt that was in this defendant's heart when she took the life of a big brother who gave all his siblings nicknames and made jokes with them and took care of them and put himself on the mountain to take care of his whole family.
So the prosecution's request was clear: life without parole, or, if not, life plus 10 years for false imprisonment, plus an additional 5 years for the firearms charge. And here's the key: they asked for those extra years to be served consecutively, not concurrently. I mean, that matters. Concurrent means the sentences run at the same time, so the clock only ticks once. But consecutive means each sentence only starts after the last one ends. It's a stack, a full stretch, no shortcuts. So the ask was clear: life plus 15, meaning Payne would have to serve 45 years before even being eligible for parole. Then Judge Scott ruled, and she didn't show much mercy. I mean, she started with the malice murder charge, merging the felony murders and the aggravated assault into it, and handed down life with the possibility of parole. And for a moment, Payne looked like she was going to catch a break. I mean, there was a flicker of relief, but then came the rest. 8 years for false imprisonment, 5 years for the gun charge, both to be served consecutively.
Okay. This court has sat through the trial, has heard arguments of defense and the state, has listened to the witnesses today, and after considering all of those things, the court will impose sentence as follows. Please stand, Ms. Payne. With respect to count 1, malice murder, the court will impose a sentence of life with the possibility of parole. With respect to count 2, felony murder, that will merge into count 1 and is dismissed as a matter of law. With respect to count 3, aggravated assault, that merges into counts 1 and 2. With respect to count 4, felony murder, that merges into count 1 and it is dismissed as a matter of law. With respect to count 5, the false imprisonment verdict, the court imposes a sentence of 8 years consecutive. With respect to count 6, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, the court imposes a sentence of 5 years that will run consecutive to the underlying sentence. Count 7 and 8 will merge into count 6. So the court's total sentence is life with the possibility of parole plus 8 years consecutive on the false imprisonment and 5 years consecutive on the possession of firearm during the commission of a felony. And that is the court sentence. So I'll remand you again, Ms. Payne, into the custody of the Sheriff's Department.
I just have one question after his name.
Yes.
I know she said 8 and 5. Are any of those additional charges or any of that going to be probated?
I believe I was very clear, Attorney Tucker, that they're consecutive.
So it's consecutive to serve?
The life with the possibility of parole. Okay. Anything further from the state?
Nothing further from the state, Judge.
Anything further from defense
Nothing
counsel?
further from the defense.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Payne, you may go with the deputies at this time. With respect to this matter, the court stands adjourned at this time.
So even with parole eligibility, Payne must serve 43 years before she can even apply. I mean, she's 25 now. That means she won't even qualify until she's approaching her 70th birthday. And even then, parole isn't guaranteed. She has to live that long. And in prison, that's never promised. Her lies didn't work. Her games did not land. Everyone saw through it, and Kenneth's family, along with the DA, finally saw justice served. So as you're probably aware, I'm a brand new channel, so just starting out. If you like the way I present these cases, please support with a like, comment and subscribe. Me and the dogs would really appreciate it.